Hey, make an executive decision. Excellent, Becca. Thank you.
It's just also if people have missed it and can't come tonight, they might want to know still what the bottles were, isn't it, and stuff. So
absolutely, yeah.
And we won't remember by the end of the night.
No.
There's 12 here. Come on.
And he hasn't been drinking for like months, so I don't know what's going to happen tonight. Probably give up after the first 6.
So I have no idea how you want to do this. We've got 12 samples to drink. We don't have to drink them all. Obviously, everybody can kind of do whatever the heck they want. You can have a sniff of them and just that's it. Or, there's Stuart. Hi, Stuart.
Should we try something crazy, Carl, and drink them all in order?
Do you know what, Peter? I did that. I always pour drams out ahead of time, right? Always to give them a bit of breathing room. So I poured out drams 1, 2, and 3. Carl, where would you place dram number 1? Just by the way, where was it?
Well, right, okay. So to answer that question first, then, Dave, thanks. I did a little work through of all 12, and I came up with what I thought might be the right kind of order to do them in, and I placed number 1 as second last.
Yeah. There are some that are just very much lighter, isn't it? Just from the nose, you can tell it. They're more delicate. Definitely need to do first.
In my defense, as I was saying to Dave earlier, I was getting the bottles at different times and I had to start doing some decanting. So I literally thought there's no point trying to come up with the right way, the right order when I only had sort of half the bottles. So I just started at 1 and worked my way through. So apologies, they're not in the number order is in no way useful really. Other than
just a normal tasting then.
Sorry?
Just a normal tasting then.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, except this is even worse because there was absolutely no thought about how they would be numbered. 0. That might actually be better than normal, but you know,
yeah, like Becca said, just a normal tasting then.
Yeah, thanks guys. But yes, so I worked out what I would recommend or what I would suggest might be the order. But I'm kind of, I'm a punter on this as much as you guys are. So however you want to do this, we could start at 1 and work our way through to 12.
If you want. Spit out the order that you've got it in. I'm only drinking 6 anyway. Mine are a bit mixed up.
And you've also got the bottle, so you know the ABVs as well.
All right. Well, I didn't know from the photos whether or not you could see much of the detail on them.
No.
That's a good start then. Okay, so
do you have the bottles with you though, right?
Yes. I've got the dregs in the bottles here.
Yeah.
And I've got each of them. So I was actually going to propose number 2 is the Thompson Inchgower. It's at 50%. It's pure bourbon play, except that it has had 6 months in a stout cask. So I was proposing, it's a refill hoggy with 6 months in a stout cask. It's a 11-year-old, and I was kind of thinking maybe that might be an interesting one to just start with. Hiya, Pete. Hiya, Mark.
Hiya, you're right.
Hiya, Stuart, by the way. Sorry, Mark, you've just missed a kind of bit of a start. First of all, don't take any notice of the numbers on the bottles. Other than
I've learned that by now.
Yeah. So I was just saying I'd kind of put together what I think might be a suggested order to do these samples in. How you want to do them is entirely up to you, but what's the photos? Stuart, what are you sharing? What are you sharing? What are you doing to me?
No, it's all good.
I thought you were going to be drop me in it or something, right? So number 2 is the Thompson Brothers. Oh, I don't know if you can see that there. That's the Thompson Brothers bottle. Like I say, it's spent 6 months in a stout barrel. and the most of the time in a refill, and it's 50%. So I thought this one might be an interesting one to start with.
Done. There you go, Carl. Two is number one.
Have a go then.
You know, the only sad thing about this is we're not back at the brewery doing this in person. That's the only sad thing. And I appreciate we could never do that on the day. Do you know what I mean? But the event for me, Carl, was absolutely fantastic. Getting to spend time with everyone was brilliant. So again, to you, thank you very much for organising it. It was, I hope very much you're going to be able to give us a sneak peek on this as to what you might be doing next year and what dates they might be.
Well, actually, I'm glad you mentioned Dave, because one of the things I wanted to do actually before we dive into some of these is actually, again, to thank you all, because diving in for the patron sets genuinely did make a difference. It genuinely gave me a bit more confidence about doing the whole thing in the first place, because you guys were prepared to put your money where your mouth was and actually support the event. And you did it with it as a leap of faith. The heck, you know, I'd never done a festival before. I had no idea what support the Indies would give me in terms of, you know, handing over the bottles. So the Indies themselves, you know, they donated these bottles to this set. So those guys, you know, made a big difference as well. But you guys put your money in. So thank you for reminding me, Dave, that I wanted to just say that. You know, because you guys, honestly, you did make a heck of a difference for the festival.
I'm normally one to shy away from speaking on everyone's behalf, but I think you've got a hard core of people on this call today that, and also who bought the other patrons tickets who aren't able to join us today, I should say as well, who over lockdown, you kept us going with whiskey. And I think it would have been poor form for, not poor form, I think it's only natural that we supported you because you've done a hell of a lot for us, and it takes a lot to organise these things. And you didn't have to, you know, you had a job. I want to say you had a job, you were working full time at the time, and you still organised it all. So certainly for me, it was more of a, why the hell wouldn't I support you? Because you've done so much for me and for others. So yeah.
Well, thank you, and Slange for everybody. And I've started on the Inchgower. I'll definitely give you a bit of an update as well in terms of 2023. But I don't know if you just want to have a little. I don't know if anybody else has got any comments on this so far, or heck, I don't want to run this like a tasting. It's, you know, like I'm on this the same as you guys, so I'm going to shut up.
We are on number 2, yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Right.
That's only if your number 2 is the same as our number 2.
Depends how much he drank before he bottled them.
It could just be the 12 or out the one.
One thing I'm finding with the kind of beer casks that I've used, I've only had, I think, 3 now. We've had champagne casks, but it's ridiculous. But I get a fizz in the middle of my tongue through the dram itself. Through, not right at the beginning, but kind of the middle part of the dram where it's coating your mouth. I always get like a fizzing right in the middle of the tongue, and this is no different. A fizzy, I don't know what, I can't describe it other than say it's a fizzy sensation. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't really noticed that fizz before, but I definitely hear what you're saying. And I don't know if I've recognized that in any, well, I haven't recognized that in other stout casks, not that I've had many either.
Well, yeah, one of the reasons why I love that Galani Unicorn cask they finished in beer casks, whilst there probably was no gas in it, it had for me a fizz in the middle. This has got fizz in the middle. The champagne.
Becca and Ollie are experts with their beer cask stuff, so come on. Do you get that fizz as well?
No, but I do get sort of like a lemony taste on the end of it, which sort of does, well, it's only after Dave said about fizzy, so I'm thinking like lemon sherbets, obviously, but lemon sours or something like that. But our favourite distillery in San Francisco that does its distilled beer whiskey, it's unfortunately had to shut now. Very sad. I know.
Well, is that
why
was
it because they just weren't getting? They just didn't get their business right? Because they were really popular.
They were, yeah. They expanded quite quickly. I think they opened like a really massive brewery and distillery in 2019, in autumn of 2019, unfortunately. And I think that where they started out in a smaller obviously a tiny little industrial estate type. What was it, like a unit, which is really small, but they had, obviously pre-pandemic, isn't it? So pre-pandemic, I think they had plenty of people that were wanting to eat and drink and visit and stuff, but just post-pandemic, I just think it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that's a shame, because I remember you sharing one of their drinks with us at one of the basement bashes.
Yeah,
really lovely.
Yeah, Tim had a bottle from God knows where, and that was really, we had that recently, didn't we? Well, I had it recently. So yeah, just have to see what happens. They might, I suspect, I'm hoping that they will sort of like see if they can perhaps start brewing beer again, I guess, and then maybe go on to a smaller distillation site. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Very
Was it
sad.
downtown San Francisco?
Sorry?
Was it downtown San Francisco?
It was like in what's it called? It's called something. It's just like a really industrial area. It was basically like just all like industry units where we went the first time we visited, isn't it? So yeah, but they don't have that site anymore. So
Yeah.
So
Is
did they
everybody else
actually
curious as to why Rob's glass exploded?
Rob's glass.
Rob, did your glass explode? Is that what you just?
What on earth?
Oh dear.
It's the fizz.
Wow. Did you lose all your sample, Rob?
No, I was literally, I was cleaning off a watermark before I poured the whiskey in, and it just bang.
Oh, bloody hell.
Bits of glass all over the place.
Well, health and safety. But I'm glad you didn't lose any whiskey anyway.
Hey, Dave, I'm pleased you said about the fizz, because I thought it was my curry.
I must have a different number 2. I'm not getting any fizz at all.
No, I don't get a fizz. I get like a peppery thing, but a lemon at the very end. But it's very
Yeah, I
light.
get the lemon at the end is slightly bitter. It's like pith, lemon pith.
I was going to compare it to like nettles. That's the sensation I get more, is like nettles and lemon still, but I do get the kind of fizz thing.
It would have been interesting to compare this with a standard bourbon Inchgower, wouldn't it? Because just to see what the difference the stout cask has genuinely made on this.
Well, funnily enough, I don't know what your second dram is, but mine is number 4, which is a James Eadie Inchgower. I wanted to try them side by side.
Yeah, but isn't that, where the heck is it? Yeah, but that's like heavily sherried.
Yeah. Still the same distillery though.
True.
Like you said, we're just doing it in any order that we choose.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, I actually had number 4, which is the James Eadie Inchgower that's heavily sherried. I had that 4th from the last because of it's being quite heavily sherried.
Oh.
But I'm happy to, go with whatever you suggest.
Well, I'm only doing 6 anyway, so it's each to their own. I'm not doing all 12.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where have you got the Highland Park?
So that was a little bit of a I had that. So you guys this might be a bit controversial, but I had that relatively early on at number 5.
Right.
So the Highland Park, by the way, is your sample number 3. Why don't I just kind of actually, if I put on here what I thought.
Yeah.
Well, for me, with the Highland Park being a 32-year-old, I thought that deserved like at least a taste into itself. So I've just kept that separate.
Yeah.
What number's that?
3.
Number 3.
This is a 32-year-old.
We should probably have it early on so we can remember it and taste it.
Well, to be fair, that's one of the reasons why I thought it was probably a good idea to have it no later than 5.
So you'd maybe have it at 3, maybe 4. What bottle number is it again?
It's bottle number 3.
Have it in
Cheers,
number
mate.
2.
So I've got a question. For those of you who are in the
Oh,
shop,
Christ.
directly next door to Dramfool. So if you were looking at Dramfool, to the right of them, they had like a corner kind of plot, if you will. Who the hell was that? Was that Carn Moore?
Where were you standing with Heroes and Heretics behind you?
No. So if you stand with your back to Little Brown Dog and you're looking straight at Dramfool, because they were essentially across from each other, then directly next door to Dramfool to the right, and when it went round the corner, there was an indie bottler. Who the hell was that?
Wasn't it the Lakes? But they weren't an indie bottler.
No. Are you talking about Wemyss?
Thank you. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Go to the left. Oh, no, they weren't. Ignore me.
You know what? They had a bottle of 20-something-year-old Bunnahabhain, which I wanted to get, but for the life of me, I couldn't remember who the hell they were, and they had none to buy there.
Yeah, it was Wemyss. Yeah. But that was the order that I was kind of thinking. And like I say, there's some controversial kind of options here. So, for example, no, the fourth one, number 9, that is actually the Calvados. And I put that in just before the Highland Park because I thought it would be very interesting to see how those two kind of interacted. And the Calvados came in. I just thought I didn't want to put it near the end, but I didn't want it to be kind of overshadowed by the big sherry numbers that we've got as well. And, you know, anyway.
I tried that on the night as well. And for me, I've kept that separate because that's going down the drain.
Oh, that was really nice.
Nah, I didn't enjoy it at all. Tim bought a bottle and he said, "Oh, go and try the Calvados, Little Brown Dog." So I went over and I said to the lads, "Look, I'm not a fan of Calvados, but Tim's told me to come across and try, so I'm here so you can try and convert me." But nah, it's just not for me. I'll just
smell it. It smells just like cider.
So what do you just want to do then? And heck, we can just all do our own separate thing. It doesn't have to follow any particular order. We could just sit here and, you know, sample away. What do you fancy doing? I mean, I put the second one I had was the disciplines, the Heroes and Heretics. It's a Macduff pure hogshead, bourbon, which I put as second. Yeah, I'm going there next. Based on the nose, I'd have probably picked that first, not knowing what they all were. But yeah, what is it? So it's the Heroes and Heretics Disciples, 13-year-old Macduff, 54%. Because the nose on that is lovely. Number 8.
Number 8.
That's number 8. Is anybody else trying anything different?
So can I just check, Carl? Number 3 was the Highland Park. Am I right?
Yes. Number 3 sample bottle was the Highland Park.
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to do that one next.
Go for it.
You'll be very pleased to know it doesn't smell fizzy.
So I'm going to try number 8. Sample 8. So while we're trying that, I don't know if you just want a quick update on next year Indie Fest 2023.
Can I just ask what did everyone think of number 2?
I actually I know the square root is sod all about Inchgower. I actually quite enjoyed that.
I like the flora and fauna, but for me, I'm not massively keen on that one.
Yeah, I wasn't too fussed either, to be honest with you.
Me neither.
I think that's another one for the infinity bottle.
To be fair, I didn't rate it that highly either. The Thompson Brothers one, the sample number 2.
I'm sticking by what I said. It was quite nice. I'm not changing my opinion just because of peer pressure.
You're just a fan of a bit of fizz, aren't you? That's all.
Absolutely. Why not?
Oh, that number 8's really nice and on the nose. Who else really enjoyed having the Heroes and Heretics guys along? Actually, they were a bunch of characters, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Bunch of silk blouses, you mean?
And they've actually got some nice whiskey.
Don't know if you realise they were incredibly hungover. They were like, I think they said they got in at 5 in the morning.
One of the lads didn't get back to the hotel till nearly 9 in the morning because he had a lucky night. Let's just say
He'd made an acquaintance.
And they appeared at the festival at about 10:15, if I remember rightly. So he literally must have gone in, changed, and grabbed a bite to eat or something and left.
You thought he changed? Oh.
Maybe not.
I see Newcastle winning up with legendary friendly.
Yeah.
Not taking anything away from the bloke. They were good fun, I thought.
Yeah.
So, Carl, before we all enjoy these drams far too much, talk to us about 2023.
So, obviously, it's very early days. I'm looking at still using Tyne Bank Brewery if I can, but I found out early this week, that Tyne Bank Brewery has suddenly been sold. So the current ownership, the people that I was working with, are no longer the owners or operators of the venue. So, but I'd already kind of put feelers out for other potential venues of similar nature, if you like. So I don't know whether you'd agree. I thought that the venue was one of the key things that made the festival what it was. I don't know if you guys would agree. That kind of.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I thought it was great.
I thought it was good. The only thing is it was ridiculously warm.
Yeah. Well, and on the evening, they didn't put the lights on quite high enough as well. So I had a number of comments, particularly from the bottlers themselves, saying that, you know, obviously bottles sell a lot by color as well, and no one could actually see anything because it was quite dark in the venue as well later on. So there was a few bits to iron out, and certainly it was blinking hot initially. I thought it kind of eased off a little by later on, but yeah.
I'd agree with that.
It was a good venue because obviously you've got the bar there as well. So even though you put the pairings on, people could do it if they wanted to. The only thing I would say is if next year is more popular than this year, because obviously it went really well this year, you might get a few more indie bottlers wanting to jump on board. And I think it might be a little bit too small if you get more exhibitors turn up.
What about Wylam Brewery?
Yeah, I thought of Wylam because they do a lot of concerts and out there in the big hall, don't they?
A big event, like a big venue. And they've obviously got beer on as well, so it was a good marriage.
I get the impression though that, I mean, we've looked at hosting conference dinners at Wylam Brewery before, and they are pretty pricey. And the other thing is actually for the evening slot, because you're not allowed to drive, and taxis aren't allowed to drive up. You've got to think it's in the middle of the park, right? And it's quite a hike to walk from its location to the nearest sort of bus stop or to town. I guess what's the time of year? Depends when it gets dark and stuff, because you don't really want to be sending your attendees off in pitch black through the park.
Thing is though, Becca, the taxis always drive up there.
Yeah.
I know they're not supposed to, but it's for access only. I don't think it applies to taxis.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it was just something that, because as I said, we visited quite a few times, but when I looked at it as a function venue for conference dinners and stuff, I was just like, no, I just completely discounted it because of that issue.
Well,
I was also worried that people wouldn't be able to. I was also worried that people wouldn't be able to find it because it's not even like it's on the main road. It's you have to go down this tiny little path that's in the park, and there's many paths, and find your way there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I hadn't even considered Wylam Brewery, but you know, I could certainly have a look at it as an option because I do think it has some merit. You know, I mean, let's face it, no one really knew where Tynebank Brewery was. Anybody who was visiting, the northeast who wasn't familiar.
No, but that's just on a road, though. That like Tynebank Brewery is actually based on an actual road.
Yeah,
this
true.
Is literally you're telling someone go to this specific point in like Hyde Park in London in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
Sort of.
You have the benefit of you can just say, "Hey, get on the Q3," and it'll literally drop you off outside it.
Yeah. I'll have a think on Wylam Brewery because I do think it's got some merit. It is a great facility, but yeah, I mean one of the problems we've got is that no matter where we pick, there's going to be some negatives to whichever area we pick. I mean, Tynebank, I had comments along the lines of no one really wanted to book up the second session because the area, because
really,
so no matter which venue I pick, there's going to be some negatives to it. So
well, another place would be Brinkburn.
Yeah, well, I've approached
there
Brinkburn.
they've done their festivals before, the beer festivals.
Yeah, well, I actually tried to get through to Brinkburn originally because I think their upstairs big venue area is as good as, if not possibly better. It may not be quite the size of Tynebank. I think on the whole, it's maybe the same size or maybe a little smaller. But I thought that was a great place to go as well. But I've approached them again anyway. They haven't come back to me yet. Hello, Joanne. You're on mute.
You okay?
Yes. Are you feeling any better?
No, absolutely not.
You sound much better.
I'm just giving John COVID right now.
Oh dear.
I think I've gone for a week in bed. Mind, I've just been swigging cough medicine out the bottle. It's great stuff. I'll just let you have the whiskey. I'll see you all later. Enjoy your night.
All right, take care.
Bye.
But yeah, I mean, so in terms of venue, I've got some feelers out with a couple of places, one of which being Brinkburn. I'm trying to remember the other place, but I haven't heard yet from Tynebank whether or not they are going to continue and they're just as happy to do the event. Because one of the problems, or one of the really nice things I had from Tynebank was the owner, the MD, after the festival, when I talked to her on the Monday, she was like, oh, it was great. I've already got plans to kind of make sure you could fit some exhibitors down the side where the brewery equipment is, so we could fit some more exhibitors in there. And so they were she was really keen to hold the next festival. Well, of course, she's no longer there. So we'll see what the new owners have to say.
Do you know what, Carl? My only don't do it on Great North Run weekend.
Yeah.
If you could avoid that one, that would be a bonus. But so I don't know, Stuart. I don't exactly know where you live, mates. But I think the rest of you, with the exception of Becca as well and Ollie, most people are fairly local. So Stuart, myself, and Becky, Becky, don't know where that came from. Sorry, and Ollie are going to have the furthest to travel. I'm telling you now, whatever weekend you put it on and wherever you do it, I will go. So again, for the guys, I don't know. I think if you've got people prepared to travel and you've got the exhibitors who are asking and they're going to come from all over the place, just find a venue and let's get it on.
Yeah.
You can agonise
thanks for that.
And everything else, but I think you've just got to do it.
I mean, you could also look at hotel function rooms as well. It's not going to have the same ambience as being in a brewery, but the reality is if there's more exhibitors.
Sorry, Becca. What about the Civic Centre? Because that's where Whiskey Lounge have done it before.
Yeah, that's where different wine festivals are done as well. And I think there's a beer festival that's on there. So my only criticism is that it's so at that particular venue, it's not clear where the wheelchair accessible entrance is, because there's not actually a big sign that says this is the wheelchair entrance. So I've had to like literally knock on locked doors, and they've had to unpadlock them and let me in. And then there's no accessible toilet. I had to take the mayor's private lift up to the floor where his bathroom or her bathroom is to go to the toilet. It was quite ridiculous. So I'd say it's a good venue in terms of the room's really big, and so you can lay out lots of exhibitors, but it's just the, you know, having to take, it sounds really stupid, but like I go, if we're coming to a session and it's like a 2.5 hour or 3 hour slot, I'll probably spend an hour of that time going up and down in the lift to go to the loo, you know, so it's significantly less time to actually, you know.
I didn't know that, and I apologise.
Yeah.
I never knew that. So.
Yeah, that's the other thing, there's no food there. I
mean, I personally would prefer the venue to feel right, and I don't feel, and sorry, I also would like to make the festival feel different for the community that we have. So for me, doing it in a town hall or a civic centre is kind of feels a bit samey and I'm not knocking how others run festivals. I just want to make ours feel a bit different. So the idea of it being in a tap room or something of that kind of ilk, well, for me, feels as if it's quite important to do that, to have it in a place like that, rather than a you know, I don't know. I could be talking total shit.
I think you're right. I think don't take this the wrong way. I think a hotel might feel a bit too polished.
One of the things I loved about the venue that you picked is the fact you had somewhere to go and just chill out and sit. Yeah. The amount of places that you can only ever stand, and actually, do you know what? Half of the fun and half of the experience is catching up with people that you see only a couple of times a year, and that for me was a huge thing. I didn't think that it would be. I didn't know there was a seating area, if I'm honest with you, but before I went, but that was huge, and I love that venue for that. So I absolutely understand where you're coming from. I only mentioned that the Civic Centre is, I've been to an event before there. If you want to discount it, happy days, and I understand exactly the reasons why as well. So you know, it's your event at the end of the day, Carl. You don't have to be a committee. It's about you.
No, but you as patrons, you know, that was one of the things that I wanted to kind of float tonight, really, and amongst all the patrons that kind of supported the event, is that having your viewpoints on this means that it kind of is a nice sanity check. And also you guys, a bunch of you did actually help in terms of volunteering, and, you know, that makes an event happen, because again, without the volunteers that were on the day, there's no way it would have gone as well as it did. In fact, I would have struggled to even hold the festival. So having a bunch of you guys actually, you know, being them core that really help with the event and give me ideas and help get it organized and things, again, makes a huge difference. So
I think Time Bank worked really well. But I forget, at the end of the day, the people you get there, the bottlers you get there, will make it a success no matter where it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
also we have got to have a plan B if Time Bank doesn't, you know, if it doesn't work out for next year, then, you know, I'm going to have to, whatever happens, we're going to do 2023, aren't we? You know, I mean, whatever happens, even if we end up having to hire a bloody shed in a field or something, it will happen. I'm going to make sure of that, and it is likely to be the 2nd of September, because that's the weekend that I kind of did as much of a search as is feasible to avoid the Great North Run, and also to kind of avoid as many festivals as I could, so that, you know, it wasn't stepping on other people's toes, or you know, having people not be able to make it because they're committed to another festival. So I
do think that it would be nice to have it in the same venue, because then it's like people are familiar with the venue, so they won't feel like everyone who attended last year will know that it's perfectly fine to be walking around there. It's like literally on the main road in the evening, and it's a short walk into town. But I think also what was I going to say? Oh no, it's gone. Ugh, that's so annoying.
Is that too much whiskey already, Becca?
No, I've been working all day today, so my problem is that I have a really bad short-term memory. So it's like I normally write down what I'm going to say as a question or a comment, and then but I don't have anything with me. Yeah, so I think about if it can be at the same venue. Oh yeah, if it can be at the same venue, I think the people that came last year will be more familiar with the area, so that's quite good for them in terms of having confidence to come back. And then the second thing is if there is an issue with having with a maximum number of independent bottlers, you can use that to say to them, look, if you want to display, if you want to come and exhibit, get in there quick. You know, there's a limited number of slots for exhibitors.
Well, again, one of the things I would say, and that is obviously you can use that whole kind of very limited number of stands and stuff, but one of the things that I specifically went after certain bottlers because I thought that they would be the best ones to have there. So again, you know, like doing it entirely on a first come first serve, or the ones that jump in first, I would actually kind of think maybe, you know, is it not better to make sure we have the best ones that we really want there? And again, you know, that's where your opinions would really help to make sure that, you know, if we are limited to say 15 bottlers or that kind of number, then who do we want to have there? Who do we want to make sure is at the thing? I'm just conscious that I didn't want to make this night about talking about the next year's festival. So why don't we make sure we have another dram in our hand if you haven't got one, and we can carry on having a chat about it. Because don't get me wrong, this is really good, but I don't want to bore the piss out of people who are just wanting to have a drink.
What's that second one, Carl? Number 8?
So number 8 was the Disciples, 13-year-old Macduff from Heroes and Heretics, pure bourbon, hoggy, bottled in October 21.
I like that one. You can get them back next year, please.
So the next one I had in the list was number 11, which was the 1994 Tomatin from Dramfool. I don't know if you can see that or not.
What's the
It's 50.1%, and it's entirely, again, it's just pure bourbon. It was matured in a bourbon hogshead for 26 years.
Wow.
So this is a bit of a special number. Now, I don't know whether Dramfool had this on their stand on the day. I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
No, because when I approached Bruce, because originally, I'm trying to remember the guy's name who actually came down because Bruce couldn't make it on the day. But the guy, when I approached him and said, you know, like, have you got the bottle for the Patron set? He went, what? Oh, they have a festival bottle. So, so thankfully, after the event, I managed to talk to Bruce, and Bruce arranged to send down this Tomatin 1994. So this is a bit special. This one wasn't actually sampling on the day, so you get to try this one.
I've had a nightmare. I've realised I did some DIY. There's some plasterboard in my glass, and I poured the whiskey into it.
Oh no, not the Tomatin.
I've got a little bit left. I'm gonna try this glass.
Well, if it's
you've got enough to try it.
It's going to soak up the whiskey. Peter, just eat it.
Just think of it as dessert, Peter. You just finished your main course. Now you've got dessert.
I'll chew my way through it.
Happy days, mate.
Slange, by the way. So, John, I take it you're trying number 7 now, which was that's the clove studded oranges from Wemyss, the 25-year-old Glenrothes. Oh, he's gone. John?
What?
You're trying number 7 now, are you?
Yes, that is me next one, yeah. The lad on the Dramfool table is called Colin, by the way.
Colin, yes. Thank you.
No,
like I say,
going back here slightly on the topic, I'm just going to put it out there as a compromise for venue. Spanish City. because you can hire that out. It's on the coast. You've got the pubs and the bars and stuff, and you've the the chimp, whatever it's called.
Yeah, the chimp.
Go for beers in there. They've always got decent beers, accessible, big car park.
Yeah,
that's true.
Beefeater on the back
as well.
Yeah,
Mark, where's that? I apologize. I don't know where that is. Is that?
It's Whitley Bay. So it's just like kind of before time. Yeah. And there's a hotel on the back. So if anybody wants to stay, then there's a hotel there. There's the Beefeater next to it. If anybody wants a crappy burger and chips, and then you've got obviously you've got the pubs below, and then you've got Whitley Bay Town Centre, which is full of little micro pubs. Plus
lots of nice fish and chip places as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think, well,
ice cream parlour.
Yeah, depending on the time of year and stuff. I mean, it's quite a nice place to be as well, right near on the coast.
That would be quite nice there, isn't it? I think that would be quite nice there. I just worry it might be too expensive to hire the venue.
It's kind of somewhere between the corporate thing, but not quite corporate, because it's it's a bit of a landmark of Whitley Bay. But yeah, I don't know how much it costs to rent.
Well, I've got those two, Spanish City and Wylam, to kind of consider and chew over and approach. All I can do is ask the question and see how much they might charge, and because I do think that's a great idea. Spanish City, because originally when I'd first thought about doing a festival, I wanted to do it largely or as much outdoors, so actually make it more of a summer kind of festival, but make it outdoors and actually on the bank of the Tyne. So actually, do you know there's like the brewery that's on the Tyne right in the middle of Newcastle? What's it bloody called again?
I know which one is right next to the bridge, isn't it? One of the bridges.
I mean that would have been a lovely venue, because it's got a great area outdoors. It's got a canny tap room, and you're actually sitting on the bank of the Tyne. It would have been a great opportunity, a great venue. So Spanish City kind of fits in with that.
Yeah, you mean by the River Brew Company?
Yeah, that's the one.
Where the stack is with all the food place.
Yeah.
You get every fucking idiot going there, man.
No, but if we could have managed, if I could have done a deal where, we had it for the evening.
Nah, I don't think they do it, because they make too much money from all the people that visit.
Yeah, well, and that was why I basically couldn't get any further with that one before the COVID hit. So yeah. Plus,
you probably get casualties falling in the Tyne as well.
Yeah.
Carl, I've got another idea for you. You could always do it at Ramsey Hall in Port Ellen.
I was thinking, where the hell's that? Do you know, I've been approached with the idea of actually doing festivals elsewhere, not just in the Northeast, and frankly, I'd love to consider doing, other festivals, but trying to keep it with a certain kind of ambience or feeling to it. But who knows? Maybe in the future. Walk before I run, I suppose, is the way to do it there.
You've already walked. You've already done it once. I'm being serious. You've done it once. That's the walking. Now you're getting to a jog.
Well, on that, there is a little bit of a thing that I'm working on at the moment, which I may have mentioned to a couple of you just when we've met up. And that is this idea of a micro festival or pop-up festival. And I was lucky enough when I was on Speyside a couple of weeks ago that I bumped into a top person at Brown-Forman. And obviously I've been talking to Distell to try and encourage them to consider this idea of a micro festival where we have, rather than as many stands as we possibly can in a festival, which often is the case, most festivals go for numbers of exhibitors and things. My approach would have been to have 2 or 3 distilleries, but actually doing warehouse tastings and actually having the chance to talk and meet with a lot of the, certainly people maybe on the production side, as well as, kind of really a much deeper dive into specific distilleries. So Brown-Forman, for anybody who isn't fully aware, they own Benromach, they own Glenglassaugh and also Glendronach. So having that kind of festival where we have a deeper dive in just 3 distilleries rather than a shitload of stands, you actually have a much closer kind of with the 3. So that's what I'm working on for May. So watch this space. There may well be another festival in May.
When in May?
Well, I haven't managed to narrow down, other than it would be one of the first 3 Saturdays in May. Actually, I think I might have had to rule one of the Saturdays out. I think it might be the 2 middle Saturdays in May are currently in the offing.
Yeah, you have to rule out the first Saturday because that's Speyside Whisky Festival.
Yeah, that's the reason why I ruled that one out.
I might, if you do it early in May, I might be able to get you in touch with people on a certain distillery here, and you know who that is.
Who, sorry?
You know who. Where does Caroline work?
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
They're starting to do festivals now, being serious.
All right, great. Well, I mean, you know, and particularly if they're interested in, I don't, you know, like, I know you guys, you know, we don't want core range. We don't want their usual kind of approach to a festival from some of the big distilleries. We want them to consider where they, you know, really almost open cask samples and stuff rather than any of their core range. So that's the way I approached it with Brown Foreman, and they were very keen on the whole idea of actually doing a much more fan-based festival. So if there's other distilleries that might be prepared to do the same sort of thing, then that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. And I know that's right up everybody here's street.
I'm not talking core range. There's stuff going on which maybe if you want to get in touch with Caroline, I'll tell her.
Yeah,
sort it out between the 2 of you. But they're starting to do work.
Who wouldn't want Lefroy visiting and doing a festival like that?
Me.
John.
Yeah, John.
John.
I'd like to see Caroline, but you can tell her to leave the whiskey at home.
Cheers, mate.
It's all right, John. I already earmarked you for a volunteer.
What's that for?
For the festival, the Lefroy Festival.
All right, okay. I think I might put a few punters off.
I don't know about you guys, but this dram is lovely.
This is stunning, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely.
It's my favourite at the moment so far.
Well, we're already on.
Number 11.
Carl, are you going to send out a note which number related to which dram? You may have already done it. If you have, I'm piss poor.
Yeah. So the pictures that I sent out, that's in order from 1 to 12. But I'll make sure I send it out again. In fact, I might even have it on here. No, I probably haven't actually. But I posted it up today. All of the 12 bottles plus in order.
It's my fault. I haven't checked.
No worries.
What drum are you on? Number 11.
Yeah.
We're on the Tomatin 1994, 50.1%, 26 years in a bourbon hogshead.
That's just so beautiful.
It is, isn't it?
Carl, can you just tell me the ABV of number 2?
Number
Thompson
2,
Bros.
50%. They brought it down to 50%.
Number 4?
Number 4.
58.7.
As in sample number 4.
Yeah.
58.7.
Hang on. Number 4. That's the James Eadie. So that's 58.7.
Cheers, Peter.
Becca, am I right in thinking that you're the only couple as such, or the only people in Liverpool these days? And what I mean by that is that our mate Tim isn't based somewhere near you, is he? He's based up in northeast. Am I right?
Yeah.
Tim Fife is not far from me.
Yeah.
I might be kicking around in early December in Liverpool for a night. Not for very long. It's supposed to be a Christmas do, but I'll have to show my face, or maybe we could catch up early or something. I don't know. But if you're
in the town, but it would have to be outside. Well, actually, no, I can be masked. I can be masked.
Outside's fine by me. I don't mind the cold too much. As in
I do think that if you are coming to Liverpool, that you should go and visit Hopscotch. It's in the basement, so I can't get in, but the bar is stocked full of only single casks and independent bottlers.
Ooh.
The whole bar, that's all it is.
This Hopscotch.
Walking distance from the town centre. Literally, it's right next to the university, or 5-minute walk from the university. So
you're talking my language right now.
Yeah, Hopscotch. Look it up. They're not open every night. They're only open on, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I don't know what day you're around.
You can hear the excitement in Dave's voice now.
They do mail order.
I missed that. What did someone say? Something? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I said they do mail order. I've had some.
Yeah, they do post drams out as well. But I think it's got quite a nice sort of. This will sound really bad. It's got a really nice like dive bar vibe to it, like because it's in the basement as well, isn't it?
Good stuff.
Carl, what's the ABV of number 7, please?
Which one? Oh, number 7 is the clove-studded oranges, the Wemyss Glenrothes 1996, and that's 48.8%.
Thank you.
So, I don't know if anybody else wants to comment about that that lovely Tomatin.
I would love to buy this, and sadly, it is not in stock.
No. No, definitely not.
Even the nose is so interesting on that one, because it's all like sort of like apples, but there's this. I get this like grapefruit zestiness in the background of it, and then like a florality as well.
Yeah, I sort of get some almost earthy notes on the nose, almost like I don't know, maybe chocolatey or something, and then maybe something like Parma violets or something in the
something floral.
The back,
yeah.
And the palate as well.
That was a fine, Peter. So Becca, there is 2 left at stillspirit.co.uk.
Oh, really?
Peter found it.
How much? That is the grand question.
210 quid.
Many
In the one they did where it was like a sister cask, they did 2 at the same time. Am I going mad? Probably I am. Yes, no, I'm right. Bloody hell, there's a first.
Yeah, that one's a different ABV on that side.
There's a VAT. Let me find out what I bought.
What's the release number for that, Carl?
Well, there's 74 bottles. Is that what you mean?
No. Normally it says, well, it might not be on the bottle, but it'll be on the tube.
There is a cask number 11210.
No, it's a release number, because every time it releases a bottle.
I mean the Tomatin.
Hang on, I can tell you because I've
44.
got
44.
Pardon?
44.
40, right.
It doesn't say on the bottle, like.
That might be on the tube.
It's always in the tube. Yeah.
All right, I didn't get the tube with it.
Well, if it's 44, it can't be that old.
Do you know what, Becca? I'm really sorry. I only bought one of those.
So what Dave is really saying is you better get in quick. There's one left.
No. When they first came out, I placed my order on the 15th of February of this year. So at 10:40 a.m. don't you know, because they put this. Because I thought, because my whiskey's still packed away because we haven't finished the whiskey room, but I was thinking if I've got more than one bottle, I'll sort you out. But I only bought one, I'm afraid. It was 145.83 plus VAT at the time, whatever that works out to be.
Yeah,
that's actually
that's a good price, I think, for what. Yeah.
Yeah, 100. So actually, still spirit on ripping your eyes out in terms of adding
it's not
too much on it.
Carl, it's not the same one. It's a
Oh,
different
is it not the same one?
No, it's a different cask.
Oh,
isn't it?
sister
They
cask,
released
right.
3 at the same time. I can tell you that because again, I ordered all 3 at the same time. So there are 3 26-year-olds who are all released at the same time. You're looking for cask 11210 if it's the one.
Yeah.
Because there was at the time a cask. Well, they didn't give us a cask on that one. There was also cask 6422 released at the same time. I can tell you what the oh shit. Can I tell you what the ABV was? Yes, I can.
So if everybody's finished that, Tomatin, I don't know if you want to go with the controversial next one that I was suggesting while we're talking through.
50.1, sorry, Carl, 50.1% is what you're looking for.
Yeah. So the next one that I had was a pretty controversial pick, which is the Petit Chien Brun. There's my French for you.
That's beautiful. I've got a bottle of that open.
So this is the Calvados from Little Brown Dog. Do you want to do this one next, or do you want to change?
Yeah, I thought
that one.
I'd be concerned that might be too much for the palate. It might blow your palate. Do you think?
You see, when I had this, I thought it was really quite sweet and quite easy and smooth to drink. When I had a sample of it when I was on at the festival, but I could be completely wrong. Because the next one I had after this one was the 32-year-old Highland Park. So do you want to do that one first then, just in case the Calvados buggers up?
Yeah. Let's do the Highland Park first.
I've only got so many I can try tonight, so.
So that sample number 3 is the Highland Park 32-year-old, if you want to go with that one next.
That's and I've just checked. Unfortunately, Whiskey Broker have sold out since the 2 weeks since I last checked.
Who's the bottler? Whiskey Broker.
Whiskey Broker, yeah. So this is 50.5%. Filled in 1989. Yeah, I was just a wee nipper then.
It's really disappointing that I didn't buy.
Let's go.
I just went through 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm on my own stuff now because I hit the peated number 1, whatever. What's number 1, Carl?
So number 1 was the Finlaggen red wine cask matured.
Kalila.
Yeah. Right. Here goes. 32-year-old Highland Park. How often do you get to try 32-year-old Highland Park?
And this is the proper Highland Park as well, the original Highland Park, rather than what they kind of put out these days.
That must be Lorraine arriving. I'm just going to mute myself for a minute because Aaron's going nuts.
Speaking of Aaron, did anybody manage to get a hold of the was it Whiskey Broker again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
25-year-old.
No, I missed it.
Yeah, sadly not.
Can't believe the price. That was incredible.
Well, yeah, 85 quid, and you could buy 6 bottles. Everyone bought 6 bottles. They could.
Yeah.
That thing is, I was looking at the price of this this Highland Park on there when I was looking for the Aaron. I was thinking that was actually fairly reasonable for a 32-year-old as well.
Yeah, money.
Probably explains why it's sold out.
It took a while to sell out.
I noticed he's even managed to sell out of that £1,800 bottle of whiskey he had up there as well.
The Macallan.
Mm.
Yeah. I think it was 1900 actually, not 1800.
Oh, well, when we're at that level, what's 100 quid, eh?
What's everybody thinking of this? The Highland Park? Crikey. It's got everybody spellbound.
It is number 3, isn't it, that we're trying now?
Yep, number 3, yeah. Sample number 3.
I actually did try the Calvados one, and yeah, tastes like drinking perfume. Very, very florally.
So, I mean, you're not a fan?
Currently trying to find a couple of cases of it somewhere.
Right. Never say no to a drink. Did anybody have a standout whiskey that they, like, because I don't think, well, I certainly haven't asked anybody. Was there a one that stood out for, is there a general consensus of a whiskey that stood out from the festival? Like, did anybody try or buy anything consistently across the board that was decent?
Well, I can say that the Mythical Beast Tormore 13-year-old sold out first. It sold out within an hour.
I think that's what I bought, actually.
So that one seemed to be very popular.
We'll check.
But to be honest, I actually thought the Dramfool festival bottle, the Girvan, was really pretty good.
I got one of those.
How many other people might agree, or?
And it was 50 quid as well, so you couldn't really go wrong.
Well, yeah, it was a decent price as well.
I did try that, got the little sample, and but it was just too sweet for me.
Mm.
It was very, very, very sweet.
I can understand that. Yeah, it was.
It's going to be a controversial opinion based on the fact that it was indie bottler, single cask. But for me, the whiskey of the night for me was is actually a blend. Chapter 7.
Oh yeah.
24-year-old anecdote. Absolutely beautiful.
I didn't get to try that one, so I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that one.
Loved it so much. The
Next
bottle
time I'm round cut, I'll
No, I have literally got so much. I'm gonna. No, you keep it to yourself. You enjoy, mate.
Well, 750 mil. It's obviously made for the export market, so I've got 50 extra mil. There you are.
That was the one I bought, the one you said.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the one where he brought round a bottle as well on the evening. Russell Spratley had brought that on the pre-festival party on the night before, and it went down really well as well.
I thought that was a really good idea as well, Carl. You organising that. That was a really nice touch.
Well, I'm definitely going to do that again as well, having a pre-festival party. Now, we may be being joined by the Caribbean contingent.
The Caribbean contingent.
So, can you hear us yet, Royston?
No, he's not. Oh, he has now. There he goes. Look at him.
Hey, how's the Caribbean? Well, it can't be that much fun. You look miserable.
It's awful.
It's awful. Yeah.
Thought I'd join quickly and just say, I hope everybody's having a good day.
Where are you right now? Can you hear?
Currently on a sunbed, Carl.
Is that still Miami?
The hotel pool. Yeah, we're going on the cruise tomorrow, so. Very
nice.
So I thought I'd join while I still had Wi-Fi and just say, hope everybody has a good night. Right. Unfortunately, I don't have the whiskey with us, so I can't really join in. All right. So enjoy.
Blanche.
Oh.
This is where he brings out a bottle of Bud
Light.
Oh, do you know what? I said a bottle of Bud.
Dave called it. You're on the quality stuff then. heck, Royston, we're only on a 32-year-old Highland Park. I mean, you know, your Bud Light sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I do have me set in the house, so I'll do it when I get back. Right, I'm going to go in the pool, so
enjoy
tonight.
Good night.
Bye.
You know, I really like the nose on this one, but I actually think that the palate is beaten by the Tomatin.
I think the palate's longer on this one, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think I prefer the other one. I don't know why.
Was this a whiskey broker one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know, I asked when I went to the stand, I actually said to him, well, I was surprised to see that he had that on, but I said to him, what do you think of it? And he went, he didn't really rate it, which is quite surprising. He says, well, you know, loads of people are like taken by the fact it's as old as it is, but to be honest, I've had better whiskies that aren't the same age, you know. So I was quite surprised. But he didn't really, he said it was all right. That was all he said.
Martin definitely doesn't hold back. Like, he'll tell you how he, you know, there's no bullshit really, is there?
He reminds me a little bit of who's the guy who does all the motorbike stuff? Guy Martin.
Yeah, Guy Martin.
He reminds me a bit like him, to be honest. He's very like bit edgy, but just says it as it is, really. He didn't mince his words. He wasn't really that fussed. He says, I can't say every whiskey that I ever produce I like. He said some of them I like, some of them I'm not that fussed on. But
well, as I sometimes say, I wouldn't kick this out of bed for farting. It's not a bad dram, but I certainly wouldn't pay the money for it.
I feel like the palate just doesn't quite match up to the nose. Like, the nose is really beautiful. Yeah, it's got like loads of different sorts of apples and like loads of flowers, like elderflower, primrose, and all sorts of things going on. Really perfumed, actually. When someone said that about the calvados, that's what I was exactly thinking about this Highland Park. It's really perfumed, but the palate just doesn't quite deliver what the nose does. That's so I'm left a little bit disappointed, basically.
Anybody disagree? Anybody prefer the Tomatin over this one?
I prefer the Tomatin, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think everybody, by the sounds of it, preferred the Tomatin. Okay. Right. Well,
I also feel like this is a very delicate palate for a Highland Park, don't you? Like, I sort of feel
it is old though. The new stuff that you drink, I don't know how, Becca, I don't know how much old Highland Park you've had, but for me, when I had that, it does remind me of some of the older Highland Park, which I felt were they're very, very different to what they are today. It's less marketing and kind of more spirit, in my humble opinion.
Well, to be fair, that's one of the reasons why I thought I'd put this on early in the lineup, because I did think that this was likely to be a little bit more subtle. So it was a little bit risky, but it sounds like it might have worked.
Do you know what, Carl? I'm glad I tried it. Would I go out and spend loads of money on a bottle? No, but it's still a very, very pleasant whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was in front of me, I'd drink it again.
Yeah.
Mind you, there aren't many whiskies that have been put in front of me that would.
I was going to say, I'm just trying to think if there's many whiskies that I would turn away. Maybe Hay Club.
I'd definitely get rid of Hay Club. If anyone ever gave that would just get left. I'd say 50 bottles.
You never buy a Hay Club, you're only ever gifted it. That's
true. And then you gift it to somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest about this one, Mark. When I thought Haig might be worth giving it a go, and this is when I'm kind of a little bit earlier in my whiskey journeys as such, and boy, wasn't that a mistake. And I've said to Carl before on when he was getting a dram of Yellow Submarine 3 and stuff, which he was competing for, by the way. I said I wouldn't throw it down my toilet because it would somehow F that up as well. So I go back to it every so often to see if it is bad as I remember, and every time it's still as bad. And I
you
can't
look a
get
bit
it.
like David Beckham, though, isn't that the marketing?
But of course, I look exactly
like David Beckham.
Of course, I look exactly like him. You know, it's that overweight kind of frame that he's got that I just can't get enough of. He's my Chinese hero, as in Chinese food hero. Before anyone starts thinking I'm being dodgy about racism, you know, because we're having Chinese when Caroline gets home. That's the only reason why I said that. Just got to put that out there before anyone starts thinking I'm being remarkably inappropriate. As this is being recorded. Becca, you can.
Will somebody save Dave right now?
Well, we're just laughing, but like, I wonder if anyone on this call is Dave's Secret Santa, because clearly the obvious choice would be to send you something.
Dave's not in Secret Santa, so no one's going to get.
You're not?
No, well, you should know. I mean,
well, yeah, but I had about 50 people to do.
Wow.
That shows you how far I'm up on your list. Obviously, if I don't rate in the top 50, I can't remember my name.
I can't believe you're not in it. But yes, I do recall that you're actually not in the list now. Yeah. Okay.
I don't like circumstances because I always feel that no matter what I do, I'll never give someone a good enough dram, and I do truly mean that. I'll never give them something that there are drams that I love, but as Steve Laidlaw is very well aware, maybe Glenmurray, Chenin Blanc casks aren't the way to go, but also unicorn casks from Galani might not be the way to go. You know, drams that I love might not be to someone else's taste, and so I'll always be worried that I never gave someone something good enough, and that's the God's honest truth. That's the reason I'll never do secrets.
Whiskey's very subjective. You know, everybody likes what they like. I mean, you can only try and send them something that might expand their horizons in ways they haven't tried before. I mean, like, I would love to try the Galani unicorn cask. I never got in on that, but
well, one of the things I can say though, and I would definitely also add to what Rob said, is that a lot of the people that are in NEWAS, a lot of the people who've signed up for the Secret Santa will have a fraction of the kind of experience of some of the other people in NEWAS. So if you shared some of, you know, some whiskies with, you know, depending on where they are in their journey, you're likely to blow them away or introduce stuff that they've never, ever even dreamt of trying. So I don't think with Secret Santa you can't fail, because it's all made with generosity. It's all about just having a bit of fun anyway.
I think it's interestingly though, I remember when I was doing the basement tastings with and I only really liked peated whiskey. That was all I wanted. You know, I wasn't really fussed on anything else, but mainly because I hadn't tried it. It was actually John who ended up being quite generous at the tastings and bringing along different sherry casks and, you know, different sherries as well as the whiskies, and it was a good experience, especially because I hadn't tried that much. So, you know, I suppose echoing what other people are saying, it's like it is a bit of a journey, isn't it? But now I drink, you know, anything and everything apart from that Calvados one.
I would also say to you, Dave, right, that I suspect that whoever was matched with you as the person, whoever was your Secret Santa, would be really quite worried about what to send you, because you've got a lot of whiskey and you've got a lot of whiskey open as well. Isn't it? Trying to find something for someone who basically has everything in Scotland open all at the same time, you know. I was contemplating in my form, when there's the notes about what whiskies and things you like, or what, you know, notes you want to put for the matching, I was going to put, don't match me with Dave or Jeff, because basically they literally, between them, they have all the whiskey in the world open.
Surely Haig is the answer then.
Yeah. Haig is the answer to nothing except for what is wrong in whiskey. I'm joking. I mean, some people enjoy it, and do you know what? I'm not a fan of really young grain whiskey. I'm just not. For me, sweet spot for grain whiskey is kind of like in the mid 20 years old, because anything over 30, I think it can get a little bit too cereally, and I think it kind of overtakes itself as such. Anything under about 23 that I've had, I'm not saying that anything younger can't be good, but anything I've had younger has never kind of quite hit the spot for me. There's a really good 7-year period there, which grain whiskey can be fantastic. I've got grain whiskies, which I really enjoy, just not Hay Club, which is about which is about 5 minutes old. It's literally come off the still, and they're desperately trying to find a bottle they can shove it in. Forget foreshots, feints. It's like, what can we possibly extract from this crap? And what I especially loved, I think it was David Beckham, who turned around and said he'd been to the Hague Distillery.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love him for that. That's fantastic. I'd like to go to the Hague Distillery myself. I really would. Being the brand ambassador for it, you'd like to think he would realise there perhaps isn't one. But anyway, let's not go there.
There's another reason to hate.
Let's go on to something. Let's go on to the next dram, shall we? For those that are getting, you know, parched. Do you want to do the calvados now then, or shall we park that one for nearer the end or something? Well, I don't even know whether we're going to get through all of them.
Well,
Just
I've only
chuck it
poured
down the
half,
sink.
because I noticed John commented on my picture. I've actually only poured half measures, so I'm only having half of all 12.
I've done the same.
Not full drams of all 12.
Yeah.
Boys and girls, I'm sure that you'll hate the fact I'm going for a little while, but Caroline's coming home. And we need to get some food because she's been to the mainland, back out the car and stuff. So I will be back at some stage, maybe just to say goodbye, because she's also brought food to drink. But if I am literally saying goodbye, I would just like to say thank you all very much for a very, very pleasant evening. The past hour and 20 minutes has been fantastic. But hopefully I'll be back and I'll be drinking some more.
Yeah. Take care.
Enjoy
Dave,
your
just in case
Chinese,
we don't
mate.
see you.
See you, mate.
See you, Dave.
Bye.
Cheers, Dave.
You see, I'd be tempted to have the Calvados maybe, or I don't know. Is it the start of the sherried whiskies next, judging by the clove-studded oranges description?
Yeah. Well, that was why I thought it would be an interesting one to have between the ones we've had so far, which have been much more bourbon-led. And then this would almost be like a kind of marker between the two. That was why I put it in there. But I'm happy to be shot down or have a change of heart on this one.
I would suggest getting out of the way.
Getting out of it. Why is there no love for this? I kind of want to know, so I'm going to go for it. It's number 9, isn't it?
Yeah, so are we doing this then? Number 9 it is. Sample number 9 if you fancy it.
Carl, can you tell me what the ABV is on number 12, please?
Number 12, where the hell is that one?
It's Auchtermuchty.
All right, the ABV
Glen
on
Mosset.
that one is 57.7. That
What's
was
the
re-wrapped
ABV?
into a sherry octave, by the way.
What's the ABV on the Calvados?
The ABV on the Calvados is
53.5.
53.5. Sorry, did you say that, Peter?
How does Peter know all these? Have you got?
I've got Facebook open.
Oh, okay. So you've got better photographs, because I couldn't see anything on any of the photos that Carl posted last week.
Did he not say Chanel number 5?
Sort of taste though.
That would be less perfumed.
Right, here goes Calvados.
It's good, but it's Calvados. It sings apples. It's just like zingy, appley. There's nothing like whiskey.
Thought you were going to quote Roy Walker there and say it's good, but it's not right.
Oh, it's good, but it's not right. Should have. That would have been much better. But for Calvados, it's lovely, Calvados. But I don't think it quite sits in the middle of this lot.
That's quite nice.
I'd rather drink cider, I think.
So just to clarify, this is not a pure Calvados play. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but this particular Calvados was placed into a Mars cask. So it's a Japanese distillery cask, and that's what it spent its time in. Hey, darling. Lorraine's just arrived back, so we're just on the Calvados, which is one that you really liked, I think, if I remember rightly. So I don't know if that makes a huge difference on this. I mean, my experience with Calvados is about 0. So I don't know if anybody else has had any bigger experience with their Calvados, but the Mars cask, I think, might make a big difference to this In fact, if I remember rightly on my notes, it spent all of its time in the Mars cask, and it doesn't actually say how long it was spent, but I presume I think it was about 5 years, if I remember rightly, it spent in the Mars cask.
What's a Mars cask?
So it's a Japanese, well, Mars is a company that owns 2 Japanese distilleries. One's fairly new, 2016, and another one is quite old, or relatively old, about 1960.
The only other calvados I've had is SMWS. They've started doing it, and they've chucked it in at the end of a couple of whiskey tastings, and even then I wasn't impressed with it. So I'm just not a fan.
Yeah,
this is very herbal on the palate. Like it's almost like hops or like cloves and nutmeg and stuff like that. It's interesting. It's very different, obviously, but it's
all I can get on the nose is cider.
Yeah. That's literally all I put. All I put on the nose is cider.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it? When I was pouring this, I was just like, that is definitely not a whiskey. I actually thought you put cider into the mix.
I mean, I don't think I've drank cider for years, but I can remember that smell like distinctly.
But on the palate, it's like a bit floral and a bit very close to hops and herbal. Lots of herb, like.
See, I bloody love that. And I think it's because it's weird as frig.
I'm really pleased I didn't have it before the Highland Park.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I definitely had them the wrong way around.
It's not weird, it's just shite.
I've just had some cold broccoli to get rid of the taste.
What is it called?
Cold
broccoli. That's very unusual.
Am I
There's a cost of living crisis going on.
Am I the only one that likes this then, or?
Yes.
You could liquidize sprouts and it'd taste better than that.
I think
I do liquidate sprouts.
I think it's interesting because it's a very different flavor profile, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting from a unpicking point of view, what you're smelling and what you're tasting. I don't know whether I like it. I'm undecided. I'm on the fence. I like it because it's a different flavor profile.
The only thing I found with calvados is it's not that I don't like it. It's just too one-dimensional. It's just apples, and that's it.
No, that definitely doesn't taste of that. Doesn't taste of apples.
No, I think there's more to that than just apples on that.
I've literally got apples, something floral, hops, herbal, cloves, nutmeg, more red apples, and then at the end it becomes more bready and cereal driven with white pepper right at the end. It's as complex as a whiskey, I think.
Oh, is it actually a calvados?
Yeah, well, it's calvados that was put into a Mars cask, so there is something else being added to it rather than just calvados.
It's a calvados whiskey blend.
And I don't know if you know this, but calvados can actually be made from pears as well, not just apples.
Yeah.
And its history goes back as far as the 8th century. Charlemagne, apparently. There you go.
Charlemagne's a really cheap town.
No, the area of Charlemagne. Well, it was very nice of Little Brown Dog to throw in the bottle into the. And I know your samples on a couple of the samples they were smaller, but that's because some of the samples, including the Little Brown Dog, is only a 50 cl bottle, so I had to reduce the sample size for that. So apologies. There was the Lakes one was just a 50 cl bottle. actually, just while we're mulling over this calvados, did you all think that the patrons' idea was okay? Was a good idea? I mean, would you do? I take it. Would you be interested in doing it again for the next festival, for example?
Do you know what, Carl? I was about to log off. Literally, I've just walked back, and you were asking that question. Absolutely, yes, I would. But now I'm going to have to go and grab some food, guys. I'm very sorry. Have a great rest of your night.
See you, Dave.
Nice to see you, Dave.
Yeah, take my money, Carl. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, but bear in mind that that's a risk, because obviously it is based on what the indies sort of throw in my direction in terms of creating the sample set. There's no way, you know, the patrons would work if I ended up having to pay for all of the bottles, for example, or you know, so there is a risk when you're taking on the patrons, and did I make that clear enough when you first signed up? You know, was that there was a risk, that it was based on what bottle?
I mean, I don't think many of us did it for the rewards, Carl. I think most of us did it to support you.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's true, because I actually didn't know we were getting anything. Because when you messaged me, you said, "Oh, I've got like a tasting set here for you." I was like, "For what?" "Well, for your patrons thing." I was like, "Well, I didn't know we were getting anything." You went, "Well, what did you think you were paying the extra money for?" And I said, "Well, just to support the event."
Yeah.
No, so
Well, that's very
true.
kind of everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have, but it's not the reason why I did it.
Have you gone that far?
Would anybody recommend or suggest any changes, or any, you know, like, is there anything that I could do to improve the idea of the patrons, kind of, you know, like any other benefits that could potentially be included into a patron's pack sort of thing?
Maybe a t-shirt or a badge or a token.
Hey, you got badges.
We don't need thank you badges.
Don't know.
Perhaps move the pre-party to an after party, because 10 a.m. that morning was a little hard.
that's true. Actually, an after party sounds like a more sensible idea than a pre-festival party.
Yeah, but surely after the festival, that's when you're going to be the most delicate.
Well, I suppose if you did it after and it was the day after, it might work, but then people would have had to have 2 nights in a hotel.
Well,
wouldn't
yeah,
they?
that's the other advantage of doing the pre-festival party, is that it means that if people are coming down for the festival, or coming up for the festival, they can actually take part in the party easier, I would imagine.
Okay, well, maybe next time I just won't bring a 62% Williamson.
And that was bloody fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm going to have to go. I need to go cook some dinner. So, yeah, thank you very much for a lovely evening.
Thank you very
much.
Enjoy.
Hey, Rob.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
Right. Just because I'm conscious that we've got another however many to get through, because I've literally poured them all.
So you're doing it whether we like it or not.
Well, no, I need to get Carl, I need you to stay sober enough to tell me what the details are for all the bottles.
Right. Okay. So the next one in my lineup, if we want to go that route, was the clove studded oranges, the Wemyss 25-year-old, and that's sample number 7. And it was 1996. It's 194 bottles in this. It was very nice of Wemyss to share this bottle with us. It was on their stand, so you could try this at the festival itself. But again, I didn't get to try this on the day. It's first fill sherry hogshead, so we're entering into sherry territory now. So I don't know if you agree. Should we go with this one?
Yeah.
It's 48.8%. Otherwise, had it been a higher ABV, I would have probably put this later down the line. But because it was a relatively lower ABV, that's why I put it at this level. That was my logic. But John, you've already tried this one, haven't you?
You get some crisp.
We even had Royston join us
Oh,
briefly.
did you? From Miami?
He was, yes.
Lovely ricin in Miami, bloody hell. Oh, that smells weird. It smells really weird.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
I think it smells of orange, cordial.
Just orange? No.
You know, like concentrated orange that you.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I can't decide. I'm not going to taste it yet. You have a nose.
Oh, actually, I tell you what, that's a nose you could dive into, can you? I mean, there's a lot going on that. For me, anyway. I guess actually, the more you smell it, the more.
What do you think it smells of, though?
Oh, I mean, there is a huge amount of orange going on, and actually, the more I'm smelling it, the more it's dominated by it.
Smells a bit like an orange clipper.
Yeah.
It's got like a woody note in the background, but mainly just orange.
John, what did you think of this? Because you've already had this. Number 7.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. Funnily enough, on the palate, I got cherries as well.
Cherries.
I didn't get it on the nose.
Did anybody get a chalky texture to it? Is that just me? I like it. Wonderful flavors. Wow. Oh, I'm liking that. Crikey Moses, I think I've liked them all. I was a little underwhelmed by the first one, the Thompson Brothers, but that's lovely.
Interesting. Very clovey.
What are you thinking, Stuart? You're looking like you're about to say something there.
I've kind of cracked on and had 2 or 3 since, to be honest with you. I'm kind of motoring through them. The 7 was quite nice. Kind of drying towards the end. It's interesting for me anyway. Like you was like kind of big orange, obviously up front, but then it like kind of just quite drying in the palate for me at the finish. But
Yeah,
nice drop. Nice drop.
It is quite dry, definitely. It's almost like how red wine tanniny kind of is dry.
Having tried 1 or 2 others and then gone back and just nosing it again, it's like the orange is like kind of amplified, to be honest with you.
It actually feels a bit higher in ABV as well than it really is.
I've never really had a whiskey before with a dominant orange flavor or nose. How like, I know I'm probably asking the impossible. How the hell did you get that? Because that's just not something I've ever really come across before.
Have you not had any masala finishes?
Yeah, well, I guess so. Yeah.
I quite often get like a heavy orange influence from a masala cask.
Right.
Yeah, but this is definitely not masala. Actually, I've just said that, and I'm just talking utter bollocks because it doesn't actually say what kind of sherry the cask is. So this could be masala sherry. Because all it says is first fill sherry hogshead. So it could have been a seasoned cask and seasoned by any bloody kind of sherry.
I've got some masala and it's very dry. I've tried it. Didn't really like it, to be honest. The bottle sat with all the whiskey. But I've tried buying as many of the sherries, you know, like as I care to try to make kind of the comparison between what the sherry tastes like versus the whiskey.
Yeah.
You don't fancy that as a tasting, Carol?
Cherries.
Yeah.
Just to do a PX night, an entire PX night would do me.
Well, you know, it's funny you should say that, but when lockdown was first hitting, I actually tried to get in touch with a few bodegas and actually see if they would be interested in doing virtual tastings with us. And I got some initial responses, but could not get them to take it any further than that kind of initial, oh, interesting, you know, maybe, and then it would just go silent on me. It was a shame. It would be great to do a sherry tasting, in my humble opinion.
Honestly, I'd be up for that. I wouldn't mind trying a few, to be honest with you.
You know,
I don't have much experience at all in that realm.
Well,
there are a couple of places in Newcastle that would do a sherry tasting. So there's Caltor, which is a Spanish restaurant. They've got a couple of restaurants in the city centre. They always have really good sherry just in the restaurant. But I know that the larger venue, which is, I can't remember where it is. It might be on Highbridge or something. They definitely used to do wine tastings and stuff. I'm pretty sure that they would at some point do a sherry tasting, or if you were to ask them, they would probably do you a sherry tasting if there was a group of you.
Yeah.
And then the other place is in Granger Market. Oh, what's it called? There's a Spanish deli in Granger Market, and she's got loads of sherry. It's like a whole bookshelf of sherry.
Oh, right.
there. And she's Olga's a really lovely lady. The lady that owns the stall is really lovely, and she will basically, if you're getting tapas in there, she'll probably just start opening sherries.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Stuart would need to come down.
Yeah,
now.
Stuart would need to come down though.
There's a fair chance that the Good Spirits Company in Glasgow,
yeah,
they do quite a few different spirits and wine tastings every month. So if I was to look for it, I dare say I could probably find something kind of locally, but don't know if it's worth seeing if there's any interest in the group, Carol. It could be something different.
Yeah, to do like for a different taste.
Well, one of the things.
Here's thought. What about in your pre-festival thingamy, your pre-festival drinky poos before the festival? You do a sherry tasting as part of the lineup.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Because you don't end up with taste as you would.
Instead of the 65% knockout blows.
Yeah, that as well.
But
I'm assuming there was an open dram table or something, because obviously we weren't there. But did everyone just bring their own bottles of whatever?
Yeah. So the venue said that they were turning a blind eye to people bringing bottles. So quite a few people brought bottles, and we had a little bit of a mini sort of dramming table at the pre-festival party. I mean, the venue was really good. It kind of similar to what you were talking about, you know, the hopscotch, where it was a kind of like a basement bar type thing as well.
Wait, where were you?
So it actually, I think it used to be City Vaults.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just down a little bit, like mid down the big market, like midway down. So, but just on the sherry thing, I have been itching to do a NEWAS trip to the Sherry Triangle.
Oh yeah, you said this last year.
I know. So sooner or later it's going to happen, because apparently, I mean, I've not been yet, but I plan to go. Well, we're hoping to go.
We're going with John and Joanne, whether they like it or not.
Well, and patrons would obviously be invited too, but apparently the bodega has obviously been operating for as long as the oldest whiskey distilleries, you know, I mean, or even older. And the old stock that they have, the old Solera casks and stuff, can you imagine just walking in and trying some of the stuff that they will have? I mean,
the smell is literally amazing when you go into them, isn't it?
So you guys have been, yeah? You've been.
Yeah. You'll get accused of being half the age of their average customer that comes in to do their tours, but yeah.
Well, I'm not sure Carl will.
Oh,
Like, you can tell he's back. He's feeling better, isn't it?
that was underhand. But yeah, well, we need
That
to
is
do
good. I mean,
need to do a sherry. Sorry,
when we went, they literally just sort of shepherded us into a room with, I don't know, 30 bottles of sherry in one of the places and said, have at it. Because they expect everyone to be old and have like little tiny drams, we enjoyed ourselves.
A tiny dram and then fall asleep. Yeah. No, yeah, it was good. And I think it's not a very touristy area. Like, it sounds really odd, but it's only a touristy area for people who are into whiskey, right? Or sherry. So it's it might be a cruise port, I suppose, or something along that area, but it's not very touristy, so it's quite quiet. You know?
Well, I've heard Jerez is absolutely gorgeous, because it's a World Heritage Site as well.
Yeah.
Is it cheap to get there or not?
You can fly into where's the nearest? Is it Alicante or something? One of the
Seville.
Sorry? Oh yeah, we flew
somewhere
like Seville, didn't we? And then we took a train, I think, from there. Yeah.
I drove. I've not been to Jerez, but I've drove from Seville down to Tarifa, which is further down.
Yeah. So there is relatively easy routes to get there, in terms of you can get a flight, and because I looked at flights down even from Newcastle, which isn't a particularly great airport, but you could get flights, and it was about a 2-hour car journey or something from the nearest big airport. Anyway, lots of options.
The trains in Spain are really quite amazing, actually. Like, even though it's like a really long distance away, they have those really fast trains, don't they? They're sort of like 200 miles per hour or something trains. So
I can give you a nice boring fact about Spanish trains if you want. And that is that Spain has the second largest network of high-speed trains in the world.
I can believe it. It's like second-class train in Spain is basically like better than first class in the UK. They're huge. The amount of space you have, there's no like mess, and anyway, cheap as well.
So there you go. I feel a trip in 2023 for NEWAS to visit the Sherry Triangle.
And I think what's nice about Jerez compared to Porto, so Porto's also got fantastic architecture and food as well, but in terms of the variety you get in a port tasting is narrower than the range you get in a sherry tasting. Like, the variety is huge in a sherry.
Yeah.
So I think I think a little bit more interesting, I think, for me.
One of the things that was a bit surprising about Jerez is all the bodegas are full of barrels that they're just seasoning for whiskey distilleries. So you walk around and there's just hundreds of barrels stamped with whiskey distillery names on them everywhere.
Yeah, you can go on a bit of a recce, because they won't tell you. They're not allowed to tell you probably who they've got contracts with. But if you look, you will be able to see which distilleries are using which bodegas.
Yeah. Right, shall we go on to the next dram then? Otherwise, we're going to be here till next Wednesday.
Yep. What's the next one?
So I had selected the Lakes Distillery. This is a no age statement sample. So it's a duty paid sample. And it's 52%. And again, this was relatively heavily sherried. So, but I've got no other information. And as we know, the Lakes don't do single cask. They just don't. So this is called Prototype 17. And I believe it was what was one of their latest exclusive releases?
Infinity or something?
Was it Infinity? They were releasing it literally the day or two after the festival. So I think that's what this is.
The Whiskey Makers Reserve number 5.
No, it wasn't that one. They definitely it wasn't that one. It was one of the. It was either Infinity, but there was another one as well that was released fairly quickly after the festival.
Number 10 now.
Yeah, it's sample number 10.
Just won a fortnight from them.
Was it the Colheater maybe?
Yes. Oh no, the Colheater was out before the festival. Because I'd got a bottle of that before the festival. Just because Top Whiskies had one, and they're very kind and offer a discount for NEWAS, don't they? Anyway, here goes. I've actually said to Lakes, we meet up with bloody hell, I've forgotten his name.
Deval.
Yeah. I've met up with Deval a couple of times, and I've said I don't actually want to like what you do, because his whole ethos is around this kind of blending of casks, and for me, that kind of goes against what I love about whiskey, and that I want to be as close to a single cask as I can. That's just the way I am. I can't help it. Yeah, I do love blends and all the rest of it, but my heart is with single cask, and Lakes just don't do it. They won't do a single cask because it goes against everything that Deval kind of is focused on.
When are you going to do the NEWAS trip to the Lakes? Because we can literally drive up there. It's right near us.
Well, I'd love to do it actually, because I keep saying, and they are really keen to have us visit. And I know Deval would actually dedicate some time with the group and everything. So I will redouble efforts and get that organised.
We should arrange it for sometime like spring or summer, because they have a lovely, we haven't been yet, but I've seen, everyone tells me about it, the lovely tea rooms that they've got there as well.
It is in a beautiful part of the country as well.
Nice area.
Lovely.
Yeah. And the other place I thought was, oh God, what's the distillery? It's gone for me now. The distillery, the one that's closest to Newcastle, just north. It's going to be open.
Ardgeffron.
Yeah, Ardgeffron, that's it. Because they put that they're opening their distillery visitor centre, aren't they, or something? So I was wondering, when's the NEWAS visit there?
Well, we need to do one, but I have to say, I'm not sure. Ardgeffron gives me the impression, and I'm happy to, and I'm actually hoping that I'm wrong, but it gives me the impression that they're more focused on being a visitor attraction and the kind of almost acting like almost like a museum visiting, than focusing on producing the best whiskey that they can.
Have they finished building yet?
And they finished the main construction. So I think they took delivery of the building, if that makes sense. So the building was complete, but they haven't actually done the production side yet. So it should.
Well, I know they only had the stills delivered in what, August or something.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. If we do go to Lakes, can we ask Deval whether he will include a sample of a bourbon cask Lakes in the tasting? I'm just interested. I'm curious.
Yeah, I think the problem you'll have is that Deval, when I've talked about specific casks, it go like I say, he has this whole approach of melding casks into what he ultimately wants to produce. So he doesn't have this idea of a bourbon cask, a sherry cask. He has sherry influences and stuff, but he doesn't kind of really separate stuff out, or at least that seems to be his ethos.
Or even like Lakes New Make, right? Because I sort of feel like there's all these sort of wine and sherry influenced whiskies, and they're lovely. They're really tasty. Admittedly, they're really tasty. It's a really good price point. But I am curious as to what's the distillate
profile.
basically. Yeah.
You know, again, I've had this conversation with Deval because when I did the Faint of Heart sessions, which funnily enough I was dreaming about last night, I was actually thinking I need to do session 3 and 4. So I'm going to start approaching some distilleries about getting their new make. But I approached the lakes. I've got good contacts with the lakes, and they actually refused.
What, the Chardonnay make?
Yeah.
Think they would have a tasting though?
Nope, they won't share it. They won't share new make, because they're, again, what they're talking about is they don't want to have a distillery profile. They don't want to be seen to have a specific profile. They don't, you know, their new make is,
That's
they view,
because they sell their own gin and they sell their own.
I know, but they view their new make as the blank canvas for Duval to do his magic on.
It's really the vodka and the gin have got this.
I mean, there was one whiskey maker editions that was a bourbon cask, that was maybe a blend of bourbon casks, but other than that, everything they've released has been with wine and sherry and port.
They're just being arsey. They could get. Why not let people try it? You know, it's just it's that sort of shit I can't be bothered with.
You think they're just hiding behind marketing and a good story?
Well, if I were a distillery,
there's no age statements, is there, on any of their stuff?
No.
No, but
and then you can't get
really
their new mate. You don't know what's in it, and then they're telling you, oh well, we keep it a secret. You know what? We don't believe in this. We don't believe in that. And obviously, it's you know, they're very nicely bottled and good little story. And I think, well, is that not just marketing at its best? I don't know.
To me, that just says that the new make itself is shite, but they're picking good casks.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, the one thing I would say is that, let's face it, there's so many distilleries out there, and when the lakes were first starting out, they selected Duval as their master blender. I can't remember what his title is now, but creative whiskey maker or whatever the heck it is. But the point I would say is that if you're a distillery and you want to try and stand out, then why not kind of go down that route? You know, like no one else is kind of going along with that kind of story. So as far as I'm concerned, if they decide to go down that route, it means that it just makes the whiskey world a little bit more interesting, doesn't it? Because they're not going down the route of other distilleries. They're doing something a bit different, maybe.
Fair enough to a point, but they could still, back to the new make, they could still give you a bottle or a tasting. I mean, that, as I say, that's just being arsey. It really is.
They're being mysterious.
Mysterious.
It's a
One of the things
mystery.
we keep going on about is transparency across the industry. And I mean, that is just not transparent in the slightest.
Yeah.
Well, they're certainly not transparent about their gin, that's for sure.
Yeah. When we went for the tasting there, though, they basically told us how many litres of that they make in a session, and I was literally standing there going, what?
But the worst thing about their gin, I don't want to have this as a slagging off of the lake, but one of the things that really caught me by surprise was the fact that the lake's gin really is only about 10% lakes. The other 90% pretty much is actually just a grain that they then mix it with the new make that they take off their still.
That's what I was saying before in terms of like marketing. Is like, well, if that's how they make their gin, I mean, and they don't want to do single cask whiskey, and they won't let you try the new make, and they don't give you any information on what you're drinking. I think, well, are you getting wrapped up here in a good bit of marketing?
Well, I guess.
I mean, as long as the whiskey tastes good, who cares? But it's just more the principle, I guess.
I mean, I know I tried a few before Duval actually started there when the lakes first started. And to be honest, their whiskey was bloody atrocious.
Yeah, but that was the blends, wasn't it? That was the blends that they released initially before.
Yeah, but even so, it was still pretty terrible as far as I was concerned. But I mean, now that Duval started and they brought out the whiskey makers reserves, all of those have been excellent bottles.
Yeah. I have to say, when we visited, and obviously, you know, I pulled a few strings and things when I took my dad there for his birthday. I genuinely think our visit to that distillery that day was one of the best whiskey distillery visits we've made for quite some time. They were stunning. The tasting we did in their lovely tasting room was fantastic. They pulled out some amazing drams. They gave my dad a 50 cl bottle of a prototype that was, you know, they didn't need to do that. So, I mean, in terms of a visit to the distillery, I'm pretty sure if you go, you won't be disappointed.
Well, we should go.
Yeah. Well, I definitely will pull out. I will do a NEWAS visit. I think it's well worth it. But yeah, I hear you on the transparency side, and it goes against pretty much what I love about whiskey. But I still like some of what they do.
I did it too. My partner and I, we did a tour earlier in the year actually, and it's a cracking setup. We were down at Lake District for a week in Easter, and yeah, you know, cracking setup. I think they've kind of fused the buildings that were there with the kind of the modern tech quite well. I think it's quite a good fit. I never realised until the tour that everything's, you know, stored elsewhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was quite interesting. It was quite interesting. Couldn't get a bite to eat, unfortunately. We just missed the lunch, unfortunately.
Oh, the food there was really, really good.
But even that wee taste of the end of the tour, we're in I take it the room you're talking about, Carol, the one just behind the shop for the tasting. Is that where you were in? No.
In Duval's bit.
Right. I see. Okay.
Yeah, they have the house that's like separated from the main sort of buildings. They had a house up there, and that's where they had it was almost like you know where the mixing rooms where they do their magic. It was kind of had a bit of a feel of that, but still had a big table in the middle. Cool. It was kind of so. No, if you had a good time, that's grand. But I mean, I think they would treat us well if we visited as a group.
They do afternoon tea, Becca. They do afternoon tea. So my pal was just there last week with her friend, and they didn't go to drink gin or anything. They just went for afternoon tea. So it was really good.
Anyway, shall we dive into the next one? What did everybody think of that, by the way? The prototype 19 or whatever that it was, prototype 17, sorry.
So I thought it was a little bit short in the mouth, like in the palate. It's sort of, I think it's probably because the one we had before was quite long, as in it's sort of, you know, the palate length is long. From the last few, so it's obviously a lot younger. It's significantly younger, but it's just very short.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was pleasant enough. I think sherried. It's exactly what I'd expect, basically. I think from the lakes is what I'd say.
It nosed quite well. I thought the nose was particularly good actually, but yeah, I agree. Bit short.
I got a lovely hint when I first smelt it. I got a lovely hint of bubble gum on the nose.
Actually, if you go back to your empty glass, it does leave a very, very tasty kind of smell in the glass.
For the nose is lovely. It just tastes like a sweet shop, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
That is rather delicious, that the nose on it.
It's one of those things where you go, that just needs more time, right? It smells lovely. It's got a lovely taste, but it's just so short, right? I'm left wanting it to be in my mouth for longer. It just needs time, I think.
That is delicious, that. So, I don't know, again, throwing it out there, the next one was the Auchtermuchty Bond, the Glen Mosset. So, anybody know what Glen Mosset is the teaspoon of?
Benromach.
It certainly is.
So say John's just been, you should know.
So Glen Mosset, so this was distilled in 2013. It was re-racked into a sherry octave in October of 2019 and then bottled in October 2021, 57.7%. So this is actually I think the first Auchtermuchty bonded actual. So I don't know if you can kind of.
What are you doing there, Paul? The camera's up
Yeah,
there.
I know. I keep doing that. So that's the actual labeling. So Auchtermuchty Bond. I mean, Cameron is a fantastic fella, and this is going to be their foray into producing. I guess they're kind of viewing themselves as another whiskey broker in some respects. That they've got all of the other stuff going on, the warehousing, the bottling. They've got all that capability, the same as Whiskey Broker, maybe on a slightly smaller scale, but they're now going to be releasing their own releases as well, because they have quite a big set of casks of their own.
Which number is this? 12.
This is number 12, sorry, yes, sample number 12. That's assuming that you want to go with this again. Choose whatever the heck you want.
Ollie's joining back in again now after a little interval.
I get a lot of like peppermint and toffee on the nose on this one.
Loads of toffee.
I don't know if it's a dirty glass. It just tastes minty.
Did they say what the I'm assuming olorosso, right?
It doesn't have any information on the bottle at all other than sherry octave, but I would say from the color it is probably, well, I don't know. But olorosso would be a good guess, I would have thought.
It's just all that toffee rather than the sort of pruny figs. But I don't know, who knows?
Mike, you look like you're enjoying this one.
Well, it's one of those ones where the nose was exactly as Mark said, like a sort of a minty, toffee, sweety thing. And then I get the prunes on the palate, and then I get a sort of a peaty wave from somewhere, which I wasn't expecting.
I agree. I thought I sat there when I tasted it, I was like, is that peat? Is it sulfur? What is it? Might be peat. You might be right.
Benromach do a peated expression, so this could potentially have been a peated Benromach.
I think the contrast is it's a bit sweeter on the nose, but I get like more salty, savoury flavours halfway through.
Well, Benromach's it's one of those old school Speyside ones, so they do use a certain amount of peat in all of their whiskies. Yeah. I think it's like 5%.
I agree with you completely with that saltiness on the middle. Yeah.
I must be easily pleased. I must be easily pleased because I'm bloody loving this one as well.
That's completely different.
It's almost as if they're all quite good.
I've got a little bit of black tea on the nose of this one as well.
Bloody hell, John.
Thanks.
Definitely more pepper for me. But there's some kind of sweet, like a sucky sweet.
So Stuart, are you on the last one already, or because you were way ahead of us anyway?
Yeah, I'm done, mate. I've been through them all. A bit like Rebecca though, like I've not had the full sample. I've still got there's still plenty there for another time. But yeah, I need to go unfortunately. But yeah, that was. Some it's interesting what Dave was saying earlier about not wanting to kind of disappoint, but sometimes it's good to try something that you're maybe not a fan of and say, right, well, I'll maybe give that distillery a pass for a while, or if it's a specific finish, or younger, or maybe even or one of them like an older whiskey, and thinking, oh, this will be 32-year-old, wow, and then you're like, oh, actually, although. Maybe that's partly due to the fact that the Tomatin was cracking stuff.
Yeah, it was.
But no, thanks for putting it all together, Carol. And if the dates work out, then yeah, be good for next year, mate.
Yeah, good. Yeah, well,
thanks to everybody else, obviously contributing, and everybody done volunteering as well. brilliant. Great to be part of it.
It was lovely to meet you.
Aye, it
Nice
was
talking
that.
to you.
It was that, Lorraine.
Oh, you're a lot taller in real life.
I ducked down a little bit, mate. See, if I stand up, you see, you know. Right, enjoy the rest of it. Oh, sorry, on you go. Sorry.
So I was going to say, Stuart, did you enjoy your trip to Newcastle then? Overall, you know,
it was.
Anything else?
No, it was good. We actually the bowling club I used to play at when I was living down in Ayr, they did a kind of bowling tour one weekend to Newcastle. So it wasn't the first time. It's only the second time I'd been. But you know, 2 or 3 of the streets kind of felt familiar when I was in the city centre. I'll tell you the story about the train home at some point, but needless to say, it ended up 3:30 in the morning in a taxi from Waverley in Edinburgh. That wasn't my doing. There was an issue in the line, but yeah, I think I might have 1 or 2 pictures as well. But I'll tell that story another time.
Well,
I do think we should maybe have like a NEWAS album for the festival, because probably everyone took photos, and then everyone should be able to upload their photos maybe to that album on the Facebook page.
Guys, do you want to see a sneak preview of something pretty special from the festival? Hang on.
Go on.
Okay.
Hang on. So Stuart, sorry, I'm gonna occupy a bit of your time first.
Aye, for you it's okay.
You don't have to stay.
No. Oh, Carol, don't dangle the carrot and then whip it away, mate. Come on. Jeez.
I've been logged out of Facebook. Hang on, let me see if I can get back in, if I can remember my bloody password.
Whereabouts are you based, Stuart?
Very satisfying.
Ran through just 3 or 4 miles Glasgow city centre. So yeah, fairly handy to get down to Newcastle, John.
No, it's not a bad trip on the train, is it?
Not too bad at all.
Right, I can't remember my Facebook password, and for some reason I've been logged out on the laptop. So I'll try this. Just tell me if it just doesn't work.
It won't work when you try and hold it up.
Hang on. I'll give it a try.
Midnight Whiskey 1, 2, 3, Carl.
Hang on.
Capital W.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you. Hang on. Give me a sec. Right.
Carl,
Hang on.
if you're going to hold that up against the screen, you're just going to spoil it for when it comes out.
I'm the idiot that decided to put a whiskey festival together, and this happens to be the Whiskey Indie Love Festival 2022. So far, there's lots of smiley faces, and everybody looks like they're enjoying themselves. I was a bit nervous, to be fair, but it's actually looking like it's going to be a cracker.
It's been a fantastic day here. I don't know what the expectations were, but not as big as these celebrations have been. There's lots of whiskey, got one here. So thank you to Carl for putting this together. I think it's been a triumph, and I hope to hell that it comes back next year.
Terrific. Yeah, it's very engaging. Lots of sitting space and lots of interesting people.
I just have to say thank you to our principal sponsor, Heroes and Heretics, and so many other sponsors.
Right, I don't know if that's enough. I'll stop that. Stop.
Billy Walker says interesting people, and then I cut to John. Say no more. Yeah, very good.
So, I mean, Gavin, who was the photographer, he put that all together, and I mean, it goes on for another minute or so after that, but you got a feel for it anyway. He did a great job with it, and I'm going to use that for launch in 2023. So it's got on the end like the QR code for 2023 and stuff. So
he did capture lots of people in it, though, didn't he?
That was really good. It was like a who's who of NEWAS as well. It's like spot who's in NEWAS, spot everyone you know from the tasting.
I'm actually in it after that as well.
So that's how done.
He owes me 2 lots of royalties for that, mind.
I think he even managed to not capture the people who were properly drunk. So I did see people were like having a beer flight. I was like, you're at a whiskey festival and then you're doing beer flight on top of the whiskey. I was like, beer
wow.
and whiskey pairing, Becca.
Oh, God.
Lots of people went and sat and did a beer and whiskey pairing.
Okay.
And actually, that
in fairness,
that was
there was only maybe, I think, probably 4 people who were properly drunk.
trolleyed. They were properly.
So that wasn't bad going.
I wasn't one of them, was I, Carol?
No, you weren't. You weren't even close to it. One of the guys was just so trolleyed, he couldn't make it up the stairs. I had to literally manhandle him into his wife's car.
And that was a friend of Carl's, but I have to say my brother and his pal, and my dad was probably well on his bloody way. But my brother and his pal did it in big style, like what, an hour in, they were literally like...
Impressive.
Yeah, most of the whiskey they drank ended up in the car park outside, don't they?
Definitely one of them, the car park, my poor niece who came to pick them up, her car in a plastic bag.
Oh dear.
And on that note, I'll need to go, folks. But thanks again, and I'll catch you for the next one, Carol. Cheers.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Right. Well, shall we go on to the next one then? What did everybody think of that Auchtermuchty one?
That was lovely. That was kind of like everything you want from a lovely like sherry dram, right?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to tell Cameron he's on to something of a winner there.
I think the sherry ones that I've tried so far, that was the nicest one.
Wow.
I think that was probably the nicest.
Who was the bottler?
I've not tasted all of them. That's definitely probably the nicest one I think I've tasted.
That was Auchtermuchty Bond.
Right.
So, Cameron Imrie, he's been on a couple of the V tastings and stuff there. He's the guy there who behind that. So good stuff.
What are we on to? Sorry, I lost. I got lost.
No worries. We were just finishing off with that Glen Mosset, the Auchtermuchty Bond one, sample number 12, which I think you were on anyway. You tried that one, hadn't you?
Yeah, I think I've skipped ahead anyway. But
all right. So the next one that I had in the lineup was number 4, which was the James Eadie, the Inchgower that John had compared with the first one, the Thompson Brothers ones. But this one is very different. This is a 12-year-old. It was put into a refill olorosso butt for 37 months. So it's 12-year-old, but it spent, 3 years and a bit actually in an olorosso butt as well. 58.7% James Eadie. What did you think of this compared with the first one, John? The Thompson Brothers one? You're on mute, by the way.
I actually preferred this one, but I don't know, the best Inchgower I've had, even though it's not like single cask or cask strength, is still the flora and fauna.
All right.
It's the same with Benromach. For some reason, the flora and faunas they've just managed to pick out the best of the distilleries and the casks as a blend, or a vatting, should I say? But the Benromach flora and fauna, even though I think it's only 43 or 46%, it's still one of the best Benromaches I've ever had.
Right.
And the Inchgower's the same.
That's got a lovely nose to it.
Nice. I think it smells of rubber.
Rubber?
Yeah, I don't know why. I got like a salty, rubbery.
Salty like sulphur or salty like the sea?
Bit salty like the sea, but I get more rubber than anything else.
Mm.
I've cleaned my glass out as well. I was thinking, is it just me?
I know the palate on that is totally different to the nose. You know, like how I'm actually surprised at how different
Quite
that
light
tastes.
but spicy on the nose. Is there alcohol volume on that?
Not a fan of that.
You're not a fan? No.
58.7, that is.
Yeah. It is quite big, ABV wise.
But I feel like it doesn't drink like that. It doesn't drink like it's.
No, I
58.
don't.
Well, I think I'm getting quite a hit off it, but I got more on the nose than on the palate.
I do feel like it's a bit lighter, I think, than the previous one. So I feel like, I mean, I've only poured half of it, so I'll probably have half of it on an empty palate. But I think the number 12 was so strongly sherry, if that makes sense. It was a real, you know.
This feels young. It feels kind of a bit edgy and a bit too much edgy, more than I would expect from something that's still had 12 years maturing. I don't know. It just feels a bit unbalanced, whatever that means. It's got a lovely nose, but the taste just doesn't seem to match up to what I was expecting.
I'm nearly taking back my comments on the calvados one now.
What are you thinking, Matt?
I think that's nearly worse. I think that's the worst one of the night, but that's just me. But I just get some really off weird flavors with that.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you, because this one's not for me either. It's I know exactly what you mean when you talk about it being like a rubbery.
Yeah.
It's not for me, this one.
Anybody really liking it?
Maybe I'm not getting the sulfur on this because I don't know. I don't get. Did you get any sulfur? Did you have the last one? You did have the last one. So the last one I thought there was sulfur in the last one, so that might be why I can't smell it in this one.
I would say there's sulfur in the nose.
Mm.
I know between this one and the previous one, the Auchtermuchty one, I know which one I would prefer to be drinking. And it wouldn't be this one.
It might just be my palate is completely shot. Basically, after the last one, I think the last one that because of the olorosso, I think that just has completely blown my palate.
I think the last one, the nose really changed after it sat in the glass for a little while. When I first poured it out, there's a real sort of almost sooty smell to it, not ash, but sooty smell to it, and that sort of went as it sat in the glass for a while.
Yeah, not sure about that one.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that I don't, on the palate, it just doesn't really work. But it's more the fact that I don't like, I've had other whiskies and I get rubber, and as soon as I get rubber, I don't enjoy it. And then I think that probably is what put me off. But then when I've tried it, I get some very weird off flavors with that.
So are you a fan of Ardbeg?
I love Ardbeg.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because whenever I taste Ardbeg is just different varieties of rubber for me. So it could be
like Goodyear.
Pirelli.
Some of it's car tires. I've had one drum that tasted the car tires. Others tasted of neoprene wetsuits. Another one was flip flops. Whenever I taste Ardbeg, it's always different sorts of like foam rubber.
Have you got a bit of a weird fetish, John?
Well, yeah, we don't need to bring that into it, though, do we?
I was thinking you should join Ardbeg's marketing department.
The very well, actually, no, it should be SMWS.
I hope you took your gimp mask off before you drank them.
That's why he keeps tasting the rubber.
I don't know.
Mind you, I never got any rubber at all on.
No, I didn't get any on that.
Really?
I
don't know.
But I mean, I've still got some left in my glass, but I can't really sort of make any constructive comments on it now because I've tried my last one, which is the Killoman. So yeah, I can't taste anything now.
Well, the next one was sample number 6, Glenburgie.
Sorry, McDavid.
Oh, I actually tried that on the night, which is one of the few that I did try.
Yeah, well, I know you were one of the volunteers, so you were.
Did you drink it all on the night or not? Because when I spoke to you, you didn't drink it all, did you? Or nearly enough. Well, you were sober pretty much every time I spoke to you.
Well, oh yeah, I was sober all the way
you were
through.
pretty much sober when you went home, weren't you? Even though we were like taxiing and stuff.
Well, I think I made it because obviously I had, with volunteering, I had me sort of work head on, if you like. So I didn't want to end up getting drunk and like making a fool of myself and a fool of the bloody festival, really. So I probably had 4, maybe 5 drams. Well, not even drams, really, just like tiny sips. But obviously I had to try the festival bottling and I ended up buying that.
I haven't tried that yet, Gavin.
So this is 58.2% sherry, but first fill. So the finish. So I'm presuming it spent all of its time in the sherry butt, and then a first fill sauternes wine cask, but it doesn't say for how long.
Sorry, I just missed the whole of that because you know how much I love to take my notes.
No worries. So this is 58.2%. It's the Murray McDavid. Sorry.
Number 6.
Yeah, sorry. Sample number 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
58.2%. It's the Murray McDavid Glenburgie 2008. It says wood sherry butt. So I'm presuming it's been initially filled into a 500-litre olorosso sherry butt. And then it spent an additional 2.5 years within a dessert wine cask, which was obviously the sauternes wine cask first fill.
So I had to go and get some coffee to cleanse my palate a little bit sherried like the difficulty with tasting sherry whiskies one after the other is that if your palate gets blown, it gets blown.
Yeah.
It's the same with peated whiskies, right? It's sort of, I can only do like maybe 1 or 2, and then I just can't do any more peated whiskies after 2 because it's just palate's gone.
Well, wait till you try number 5.
What is number 5?
Killoman.
Oh, theirs isn't that heavily peated though, is it?
Well, John doesn't really like peat though.
It's noticeable.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you my notes. Nose, peat.
Oh shit.
Nose peat, palate peat, lens peat.
No, actually, the palate is coal and tar.
All the things you look for in a whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm running a little behind because I'm still on number 4, but I've taken the notes for number 6. I will catch up.
Has Joanne tried any of these, John?
Nah, she's not feeling too well. She hasn't really got any palate at all at the moment. I've been making tea for the past couple of days, and she said everything tastes the same. It's just different textures.
Is it not just your cooking?
Well, yeah, it could be.
I'm gonna have to go as well, guys. My laptop's decided to die, and my phone's running out of battery.
Oh dear.
Go and find the charger.
The kids are asleep, and the wife's asleep, and
Well, Peter, it's great to catch up with you again.
Poor planning.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on my laptop. It's just, I've restarted it twice. It's just kaput.
It was very nice to meet you in person too.
Absolutely. And thanks again, Carl, for organising everything. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, a bit like Stuart, you're a lot taller in real life as well.
You're a lot shorter in real life. I thought you were way taller. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Yeah. Like that though. Sorry, I've just progressed to the next one.
The Finlaggen.
So I've got number 1, the Finlaggen. I like that.
Wait, I'm getting there. I'm still on. Wait, I haven't even had number 6 yet.
Well, I prefer 6 to 4 by a decent margin. It's still not entirely my cup of tea, but it's much nicer than 4.
I do agree that 4 seems unbalanced, and I can't even pinpoint why.
Yeah.
But there's something just not quite,
Yeah.
in that.
I like 6 because I think on the palate, it kind of, you split it down. Well, the finish is quite, I don't know. I think you can get the influence of the different finishes.
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is if this is spent, what was it, 10 years in an olorosso, but no, it's spent the initial 10 years or so in the sherry butt, and then it spent 2.5 years in the sauternes cask. Well, that must have been a very inactive sherry butt, if you think about it, because yes, it's not very sherried. There is definitely a sherry thing going on, but the sauternes is far greater influence on it. So you question what the hell was the sherry butt doing for 10 years, sitting on its ass? That's what it was doing. There wasn't much going on, was it?
Mark, I'm going to have to ask you, have you got a background on it? Is that actually the room you're sitting in?
Who are you? What?
I have to guess.
I think there's a background because I keep looking at your fire thinking. Genuinely, I'm looking at the fire thinking. Clucking hours.
Brilliant.
No, it's a real fire.
A toddler wandering around with a weird background.
Yeah. Lorraine wasn't here though then.
It's just like I was just burning away in the corner, but yours is looking like I was thinking that can't be a real bloody fire.
Yeah.
We don't even have our fire on at the moment. We did have it on last week, but we don't have it on tonight.
We love John. We've got wood for our fire.
I live on the coast though, so it's colder here.
Yeah, it's because Becca, you and Ollie are now like southerners.
I know, right?
Like, you're literally in the equator, aren't you?
We got seasoned to the north, like in Newcastle, of how cold it is, and then when we moved down south to Liverpool, which is basically the Midlands, right?
Yeah.
It is so much warmer here, I have to say. It definitely is. But we're in an old house, so we have to have fires on occasionally anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark, I can see yours as a fire, but I thought it was like a gas fire because.
So Dad, I was thinking, is it a gas fire? And I thought, no, it looks like maybe it's on those backgrounds.
Yeah, because to open the door on mine, once it's lit, I've got to put a welder's glove on.
So do I. I've got like a little rubber tube thing.
Yeah, mine's hot. I just quickly do it with my fingertips.
I can't even shut the vents on mine without burning my fingers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but see, do you know what? It's people that cook though, right? Because I have like asbestos hand because I'm always in the kitchen with the oven and that. So I can turn down our vents and that without needing a glove.
Mine
you would literally complain you're burning yourself.
Yeah. Well,
mine's years of playing guitar.
But the thing is, my missus is always complaining my hands are like leather because of the work that I do. And like I say, with mine, I couldn't even open the door with mine.
No.
You got pampered hands, John.
He hasn't. His hands are like warm as toast all the time.
Because he moisturizes.
Yeah. Silk gloves and all that.
So is that the Finlaggen? Oh, wow. So the Finlaggen's quite
number one,
isn't it?
It is. More peak than I anticipated.
So
that's number one.
Wait, I'm really not there yet, but let me write it down because I might be a while still. I'm still on number 6. Go on, what's number 1?
So number 1 is the Finlaggen red wine cask matured, 46%.
I have to go and find a bottle of sherry.
And that's pretty much.
Sorry, 46 point.
No, it's just 46%.
I was surprised to see they were there because I mean, it's just my interpretation of Finlaggen. I thought Finlaggen was like a made up Isla indie bottler, but not like a proper.
Sorry.
Oh, wow.
What were you saying?
I was saying I never considered Finlaggen. I thought it was a bit like a supermarket, type of whiskey, like bottler. I didn't think it was a proper. I don't know what constitutes as an official indie bottler, but I was surprised to see they were there.
Well, I mean, it's the Vintage Malt Whiskey Company, and they've got quite a few brands underneath their umbrella.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, so they've got the Cooper's Choice, which is all the single casks.
Yeah.
And the more sort of specialist stuff that we sort of go for. But they've also got the Finlaggen, which generally speaking is normally Kalila, finished in different casks. But they also do a couple of different blends. They do Isle of Storm. That's one of theirs as well.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
What else?
Who is it that does that seaweed? You know which one I mean.
Seaweed, Aeons, Sherry and Digging.
That's it.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that, but I've seen that and I thought, I'd quite like to try that. But I don't know who it is that does it.
Well, funnily enough, actually, every year they're down at the Free Trade Inn, they do a smoke and fire event.
Right.
It's normally for like Guy Fawkes around about the 5th of November. And this year they've actually bought a bottle of that. Because what they normally do is they buy a load of sort of weird sort of smoky porters, Baltic porters, that sort of thing for that event. But then they'll buy a couple of different bottles of whiskey. And they've actually bought a bottle of that. I mean, when I was there, I only popped in to get a takeaway, so I couldn't actually try any of the whiskey, but it's on me list to try because it'll be there for a while.
Yeah.
But I have heard good things about it, actually.
Right.
Actually, only 46% or something, isn't it? It's not the
cask strength one.
There might be a cask strength one.
They do a
so they do 58% ish, but they do a standard 40 or something of 40ish.
Lorraine decided to go with a bit sherry. I don't know if you can
Just
see
Morrison's PX.
Yeah.
Like
I wanted to ask actually.
£5.5, £6 a bottle.
You know when we were at the kind of pre-party.
Yeah.
You know I've forgotten her name. You'll know the German woman.
Tina.
Yeah.
Tina. I was talking to her, right, and I definitely didn't cross wires, but I was going on about PX, and I said, "Oh, well, I've tried a few different PXs, but I've never managed to find one that's any more than about 30, 40 quid." And she was like, "Well, that's not a very good PX." And I said, "Well, what's a good PX then?" And she says, "Well, it's got to at least be £150." And I thought, well, I've never even seen any for £150.
A single cask PX. You do get single barrel PX. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've never, again, this goes back to the sherry conversation. My experience of sherry is pretty limited. I've tried a number of different PXs, some supermarkets, some for 30, 40 quid, but nothing more than that. Like, you can buy a 30-year-old PX for about 30 quid, but I don't know enough to know whether that's good value or whether that's just...
Well, it's the same as whiskey though, isn't it? It's about what you like.
Yeah, you taste it. As in, compare like a non-age statement PX to an age statement PX, and then you can see like the evolution basically in the barrel.
Because I mean, you can pick a bottle up like you just said in Morrison's. I picked one up in Sainsbury's the other day for was it 7 or 8 quid?
Yeah. The Sainsbury's one I probably think is nicer than the Morrison's one, but I don't really know why. I just genuinely think it is. But I know when Tina came over, like the last time Tina came and stayed with us, I was away on a course or something one day, and Carl had gone out with her, and she'd said they've gone to wine chambers and bought this bottle of PX sherry that's the same kind of size as that, so it's a 7.5. And it had like a little padlock on the top. And Tina said to Carl, like, it's amazing, like that's a much better. And it was about twice the price. It was maybe like 15.
And I think you and I both said, actually,
I literally tasted it compared to that.
Did it have a yellow label on it?
Yeah, it does.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it does.
I had a padlock. I've had that because I went and bought it from wine chambers.
Yeah. But I genuinely didn't think it was any better.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? So one of the ones that is readily available in supermarkets such as Waitrose, Costco as well, stock it, is Gonzalez Bias. They've got a 30-year-old range. So they do 30-year-old Amontillado, a 30-year-old Oloroso, 30-year-old PX. The PX, that is just sublime compared to a stand, like if you can literally have it side by side, that one. It's the Noe. I just literally looked it up to figure out what the name of the Noe.
Yeah,
that's on Master of Malt.
Yeah, I have had that as well, and I love that. That was amazing.
Yeah. Compared to and the Oloroso one as well. Oh God, I can't remember what it's called. We had that. So the Oloroso is sort of like a medium sherry. Their one, the 30-year-old one, that is just amazing. Like it's so complex, you know, and you sort of, I think with an appreciation of what a barrel does to whiskey, when you look at sherry, that appreciation of what a wood barrel does to sherry, you can really appreciate that.
Yeah. I think they've got those in the wine chamber. Is some of those, or one of them is not called the Methuselah?
Yeah, that one.
Is that
the Oloroso? I think one is the.
I think it's an Oloroso and PX blend.
That one we've had that. We like that one. That's one of our favourites.
You like one, John?
That one in the Noe, yeah.
Properly hazelnutty.
Was that the Noe?
Oh, maybe it was the Noe. That was an aged one, though, wasn't it? That was, I can't remember how.
That was 30-year-old. It was 30.
I think they're all in that series. They're all 30-year-old.
Yeah.
Because they do the Noe, they do the PX, they do that Methuselah.
They do an Amontillado as well.
Yeah.
In that same range, and it's really lovely.
We'll try John's.
The other ones that are aged that are really, really like tasty. Oh God, Harvey's do a 30-year-old range as well, but I haven't seen them anywhere other than in the Harvey's bar in Bristol, which is now shut to the public. So it's only open now for events. But they used to have like basically a Harvey's wine bar, essentially. It was in Bristol Cream fame, the sherry bar. They had a tapas bar and a sherry bar in the city centre in Bristol, and they had the whole aged range there. And that, if you can find it, that's really an interesting one as well.
Yeah, right.
I'll have to have a look. I usually buy them at Christmas. I just associate it with Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's always nice on ice cream as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But it is interesting doing them side by side though, like a non-age statement one versus a 30-year-old one, and you can really see it.
But it's the same with whiskey, isn't it? You could be drinking if you don't compare stuff, you don't get a full picture of where you are with your tasting, do you? I mean, you could be sitting drinking something and it actually tastes pretty good, but then when you all of a sudden compare it with something that blows your mind, you realize actually that isn't quite so good as I thought it was. You know, like it's only when you compare and contrast that you really genuinely get a better gauge of what you're actually drinking, in my humble opinion.
I can't really say I do like a PX, but I can't say I'm a massive fan of PX, because for me it's just varying degrees of prune.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is a very nice degree of prune.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's still prunes, isn't it?
It is too. I find it too sweet, to be honest, as well.
Yeah.
I feel like I can only have it with cheese. Basically, I have to have it with cheese and egg.
Oh, that's even nicer. That's the same as port, though. I would love a honestly big bottle of port in a massive tray of cheese and crackers and grapes and celery and olives.
Do you want to find a room?
I would. Wouldn't need anybody else.
You're sleeping on the sofa, Carl.
I think so.
But obviously, in our house, we do have basically a dessert wine section of the house. So there's like, you know, everything from Madeira, ports, sherry, all of the, it's basically the section of the alcohol that is for just having the cheese.
Is it just me, and I haven't watched all of the movies, but is it the 50 Shades of Grey? Instead of an actual like sex room or whatever, we're all like developing into situations where we got a port and cheese room. Yeah, or come in and have a look at my PX room. Yeah, now we know.
I think it's also a sign possibly of middle age. Have a look at my cheese room.
I've been like this for a very long time, though.
Lorraine, have you still got your gin you had all your gin shelves or gin cupboard?
Yeah, they're a little bit depleted at the minute, but not bonkers. There's still probably about 80 bottles out there, I think.
So many.
So many shit gins.
That's not true.
Whoa. Wait, I did tell you about the time, so pre-COVID time, we used to invite people over to our house and have like an open dram table, and everyone bring bottles. Some of our friends would bring like 13 bottles of whiskey, and we'd spend the weekend just opening each other's bottles of whiskey. Except for one of our friends turned up with a bloody gin. That was the only bottle he brought, wasn't it?
I take it they were banned from that moment on.
Oh my God, the amount of grief that everyone gave him. Seriously. I was like, this is a whiskey weekend, hence bring whiskey. I know that this person has a lot of whiskey. They've got some very nice whiskey. They collect lots of whiskey, and they brought bloody gin.
Was the gin in a whiskey cask?
Yes, it was. And it was not tasty.
Can you remember what it was?
No, because I completely dismissed it because it was gin. Yeah.
So we have this discussion about the ones I've got that have been in whiskey casks, and Carl thinks the taste so much more ginny, and I think the taste so much more whiskey-y.
And we know who's right, obviously.
It's about your palate, clearly.
It's about the palate, and the person that has the better gin palate is obviously Lorraine, because she drinks gin.
She's probably got the best whiskey palate as well, I would imagine.
I do get the whiskey, but this like that feels like it's more overpowering than the gin is from when I normally drink gin. Whereas you taste them and literally, oh my God, I can taste the gin and there's a hint of the whiskey, and I'm like, that's really unusual that we have such a different understanding of it.
I think the rationale of the person
I still would like. Sorry, go on.
The rationale of the person that brought that bottle of gin to a bloody whiskey weekend was they said that it was the only gin that they could drink neat as if it was whiskey, because it was more complex, so you could sip it. It didn't need any mixers or anything like that, and it was more complex, but it still had that herbally-ness, right, of gin.
Yeah.
And it totally was not whiskey. It was the thing that I had a problem with.
Yeah.
Well, I keep meaning to suggest on NEWAS that we do a gin tasting, but of gins that are cask strength and that have been matured in some form of cask. Like we've got a few from. In fact, I would definitely recommend them. Poetic License. They did a special release where they had 3 in the lineup. One was now my brain's gone. Madeira,
a Ruby Paul.
Yeah, and what was the final? Muscatel, yeah. And all are cask strength. They're all very interesting to just drink on their own with nothing else.
Like you say, Rebecca, neat, like not.
Yeah.
And then we've got a couple of those Indian summer ones, which are, I think I've got a Bowmore and a Highland Park, but I had a Bunnahabhain as well.
The Bunnahabhain was lovely, yeah.
Bunnahabhain was probably really my favourite.
They also did a Highland one, didn't they? Or did you say that?
No, I only said them 3.
I think that, anyway. Should we do the last dram? Are we all on the last dram now? Have we all got the
almost. I have had a sip of the. I really like this whatever it is.
Yeah, the Finlaggen is the
Finlaggen red wine cask.
I haven't got that far yet.
I feel like it's really well balanced. Like it's just tasty. It's I don't know. It's just well balanced. There's nothing that sticks out in it that's offensive at all. It's just really sort of pleasant and well balanced. Ollie's just given up on whiskey, haven't you now?
No, I'm just every other one at the minute.
Are you going to do the last one?
Yeah, I'll do the last one.
Okay.
I have to say, I'm really quite impressed with the Finlaggen.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't even know like what that is. Finlaggen, like I literally don't know who that is.
Sorry, I've just been corrected that the one I'm sipping that I'm really extolling the virtues of is actually the Kilchoman.
Oh, the last one. So it was interesting because on the nose of that one, comparing the two, I did nose them both beforehand. Comparing the two, the nose on the Kilchoman is it's like a green peat is the only way I can explain it. Like greenery, vegetation.
So what number is the last one?
5.
The very last one, the Kilchoman.
That's
5.
For me, that's the best one of the night, the last one.
It's massive. I literally sipped that. Literally, it touched my lips and I thought, oh no.
That's what I thought.
Because the Finlaggen's got a very biscuity soft. It's a very soft peat, very biscuity, very sort of very approachable, possibly something to turn people that don't like peat about it. Well balanced. I haven't tried the Kilchoman yet.
Got a lovely nose.
I know it's got a lovely nose. I just remember at the whiskey show one year, they did food and whiskey. This is back in the day when they actually did food and whiskey pairings, where you'd literally drink a dram of something whilst you're eating something. This was like 6-7 years ago, and they did Kilchoman with. I think it was like I'm sure it was like mussels or clams or something like that, and it was just the perfect pairing. That brininess, it must have been clams. The brininess of clams with that dram was just literally the most perfect thing.
Can you buy this?
The Finlaggen?
Kilchoman.
Oh, the Kilchoman.
Oh yeah, tell us about it.
My understanding was that it was a specific release for the company, the Spirit Filled, and I'm guessing
it says private cask on it.
Yeah, and
I didn't think they did indie bottlings.
Well, Spirit Filled bought the cask, and Kilchoman bottled it on behalf of Spirit Filled. So I don't know if you can kind of see that it says on there.
Hang on, let me pin you. There we go.
Spirit Filled, 15-year-old private cask. All right, okay.
So that they specifically had it bottled.
So what was the ABV on that, Carl?
55.5.
Thanks.
And it's bourbon, pure bourbon. Very unlike the Finlaggen.
So does anyone else like me get coal and tar on the palate?
Hang on, I'm getting there. I have to say my palate is probably completely shot, John, compared to yours.
I doubt it. Not once you taste that, it won't be shot at all. It will be afterwards.
Freshly laid road.
Is it like bitumen? Is it like, because I love that bitumen sort of.
Oh, it's lovely.
Oh, you might enjoy it then.
if you like peated.
That is lovely. That Kilhoman. I think that's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, my palate's not that refined to tell the difference between Irish tarmac and Scottish tarmac. So
oh, I think it's nice.
You know, we still, can I just say, we do still need, I know we did the Killowen tasting, but we do really need to have a bit more Irish going on, I think, in NEWAS.
You're right. You're right. Definitely.
I have got a few ideas.
Okay.
I think I've got your email, so I might CC you in on a few emails to some people to see whether they'll be willing.
Well, I know, and obviously, you know, Waterford may not necessarily be on the highest list that you might have, but Waterford were very keen to do a tasting with us when I was first dealing with them over the faint of heart stuff. Because obviously that was one of the things that they really liked, the whole idea of the different new makes obviously playing a part in their overall story. So, but they were keen to do a tasting with us anyway. But I'd love to do one with Dingle. And Graham has always expressed an interest in doing a tasting with us. So I'm pretty sure we could organise something with him.
Yeah, we should. I've done a couple of tastings of Dingle where it's like the deconstruction of their whatever it was that was the release at the time, and it's quite interesting actually. Like the range is quite interesting, and also it's very. I know they do a single pot still, but there's a single malt as well, so it's interesting because you can compare the two.
Yeah.
With the same distillery.
Did Graham do it with you?
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I mean, he's such a nice guy, so I'd love to do a tasting with him anyway. Even if his whiskey wasn't that great. But yeah, and actually the guy from Killowen approached me a couple of months back, and actually I haven't sorted out a date with him, but he wants to do another tasting with NEWAS as well.
Is that Brendan?
Yeah, Brendan Carty, yeah.
So the thing is, I think, okay, if we do another tasting with them, because their stuff sells out like that, right? Yeah. So I think if we do another tasting with them, we need to sort of maybe say, like, can we have a preview of what's upcoming rather than stuff that's sold out? Because when they did the tasting with us, it was really cool to try some of, like, I remember it's the stone soup. I literally remember that in my brain, the name of it, the stone soup, the Dalridian and stuff like that. So some of it was still available. Stone soup had already sold out the day before our tasting was when it went on sale. And it was kind of really
sold out in an hour.
Yeah. To be fair, it was a really interesting, you know, it wasn't whiskey, it was
pot sheen.
Yeah. So like, it did sell out really quickly. But yeah, it'd be cool to have another tasting where maybe stuff wasn't yet released.
I think I will struggle to persuade him to do that. So I suspect the question I would ask is, would you still rather do a tasting even if you can't buy the stuff or not? Probably
I would, because what they're doing is really interesting. They're doing like small batch distilling, so everything's like really, experimental and small numbers basically. So that's quite interesting, right? Because it's a bit like Circumstance in Bristol. I think the bit that kind of I was a little concerned about in terms of Circumstance was this whole idea of the use of
staves in the maturation. So they're literally using IBCs, so big plastic containers, and they're maybe sticking a bit of this wood on a bit of string. I know, but it just kind of, it has me hairs on the back of my neck. It's kind of prickling up, going, no, this should not be allowed. That's all.
Well, the thing is, it's not marketed as whiskey, though, is it? It's spirit.
Oh yeah, and they're transparent. You know, they're very open about what they're doing. You know, like, God love them. They're you know, they're being honest about what they're doing. I just can't. It just feels wrong. And there's some of the stuff was nice, you know, like when we did the circumstance tasting, it was canny. I mean, there was nothing that was bad about what they were doing, but in terms of flavor and things, but I'm not sure if that's a lot cheaper to do if others follow and it starts becoming almost accepted. I'm just not sure.
I was just quickly looking up, like, one of the tastings we did recently was for Whiskey Chats podcast, which is like an Irish whiskey blogger, and one of the Killoans in that, I mean, so it was a whiskey from, I think, Tasmania,
right,
that they had bottled, but they'd sort of, like, I think they'd finished it in like their own rum and then PX, so it's sort of and it was the first time, yes, there's a real mix of things going on, right? And it was the first time that I'd ever found peanut in a whiskey taste as a flavor profile, peanut. And that was the overriding flavor, like a sort of like this really strong roasted peanut flavor. It was really interesting, basically. Yeah.
Well, Tasmania is a little hotbed of distilling, isn't it? I think it's got something like 13 distilleries on Tasmania alone.
He's talking about the fire, isn't he, John? Have you got fire envy?
I have. It's making me come and do mine.
I just don't know how he keeps his glass clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's thinking that as well.
I genuinely thought it was fake.
Ours is so much more effort to open it up and put wood in and make it catch and stuff. You're just throwing it in like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it's been on for ages, isn't it? So.
Yeah, but it's still going, like, it's, you know, it I mean, it is like a cartoon.
He literally just loves to log in. It's just like.
We need to understand how you get away with it.
How is it minuscule? That's our problem.
That's probably the same sort of size.
No, it's a fucking massive.
My wood's been drying since March. I have because we live in a fairly old terraced house. We still have the outside toilet shed, and it's a brick shed that would have been it's still got the hole where the toilet was. I mean, that's full of expensive wood. Yeah, and then so I've stacked my wood in there from March when nobody's ordering wood because it's spring-ish, end of winter, and so I've left it in there and it's dried all summer. We had a hot summer, so it must be quite well dried out now. I mean, I buy it kiln dried, but it's still going to have quite a bit of moisture in it. So
I was laughing, Mark, when you were talking about the outside toilet. Well, I'm still old enough to actually remember having an outside toilet.
Oh, right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, we don't have there's no toilet there anymore. The shed's there.
You see, I remember the first time I heard that someone ever had an outside toilet, and I remember thinking, what the actual?
Yeah.
Like, that was a thing, right?
Oh, it most certainly was. And I remember going out to that loo in the middle of the night, and you tried your utmost in your life not to have to go out in the middle of the night to go do it, especially in the winter. Oh, yeah.
So how much wood have you got actually stored? There must be a big outside toilet.
Oh, there's a lot. There's probably enough to get me through the winter at least. Yeah, it's a lot of wood. But then I bought it obviously before the energy crisis. Well, it's probably on the cusp of it. I got the log burner put in before the energy crisis on the anticipation. I remember reading in the news, they were saying, oh, they think energy's going to go up. So I thought, oh, well, if that's the case, I'll get a log burner. And so we had the actual fireplace installed, but we had no log burner. So I paid to get that put in. And then I thought, well, if the prices do go up, then at least we have a log burner. And it's obviously paid off because we haven't had the heating on much. And the kids like cold rooms, and we sit down here and it's
cuddle up in front of the fire.
Well, I wouldn't say cuddle up, you know, resent each other profusely.
Well, we tend to just heat up basically one room in the house. So like
that's it.
We're in the living room all night, so just heat up the living room with the log burner, and it's rather toasty. Gets hot, so you have to open the doors and heat up the rest of the house with your one log burner.
Yeah. Well, I think
we've had ours in about 2 years now, and the reason I put it in was because with my work we get loads of offcuts of wood.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got the garden is just pallets of wood stacked all over the place. I've got that much. I've actually started giving it away now because I've got nowhere else to put it.
I was going to say, we are your overflow.
Yeah.
Well, I think the shed cost me about £300 to get filled with wood, but like I said, that will probably last 3 or 4 months. So I think £100 a month isn't bad to, you know.
Not nowadays, it isn't.
No.
I'm actually thinking I might stop the recording. We're on the last. We've done the last one, haven't we?
That's it. Yes, the last whiskey's done.
Because
now we're on to wood and log burners.
Yeah. I'm going to stop the recording and then we can